would be live. Okay, smack
okay.
dab live. That's the key.
Yeah.
And then if you have Twitch on, and if you want to keep track of the chat, just mute both the Twitch screen and your computer. Part of in Twitch, just that way there's no sound coming from that. So you want to keep track of all the questions going on. Not necessary to do, but just a little trick.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
because the
so it's
Twitch
muted.
stream-
Yeah, mute Twitch.
stream
Yeah.
is like delayed like 10 seconds or so. So it's
Cool, Big
not
Mac. Can you hear me?
But Zoom is live, so that is.
Yeah.
It's not that important today, but when there's like live games and stuff, then it becomes.
Yeah. When we're playing, or when Eric's playing and not hitting anyone, ever. Hey, Ann, what's up, Sidney? Casey, Dale. Oh my gosh! I mean, it's like 10 seconds in, and we already got 20 seconds. Yeah, we're getting we're getting. This is like one of the most anticipated ones we've had in a long time. So I'm really excited. Good old Reaper.
I love Reaper.
I love Reaper too. They're a fantastic sponsor. In fact, they're one of four of my sponsors that are sponsoring our fundraiser for St. Jude coming up in a couple weeks. They've given a lot of great giveaways for it. Along with this company, along with Strategy. There she is. Hey, Tony. You see, Borgrith, because it's got to be the same name as your Twitter, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
I try to keep that consistent throughout everything, or else everybody gets confused, and then I get confused. I'm like,
Very cool.
Going on?
Oh, I need
Hey, John. I'm burning through all the prelude stuff, so we're gonna get on quickly here, and then we're gonna BS a little bit till Ed comes on. So good to see you, John. Nice crowd. Woo! Chiller Games had a very successful Kickstarter too, and we'll be giving. By the way, tonight we'll be giving away a Chiller Games and a Reaper gift certificate, $25 each. So sit tight for that. And Tony Patrick, Canadian Ancient Gamer, just gave you a gift sub to the channel. Very nice gentleman.
That's very nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
See, this is called cutting it short. Boom. Chuck will understand.
Well, those who are not familiar with Tony, while she did do the new 5e book, she's been around forever in the organized play community.
Hey,
awesome.
are you calling me old?
As old as me!
We're all we're all old here, right? Or varying degrees of old.
I'm the oldest, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah,
I
I'm
prefer the
sure I'm
term
the oldest.
student.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm the oldest here.
When did you start? Was it Living Greyhawk, Tony, or was it LC?
It was Living Greyhawk. I had a bunch of friends who were into LC for a very long time, and I refused to give it a try. Actually, I shouldn't say refused. I tried a couple times, and I had some pretty bad experiences. And so then I was like, I'm not trying this, I'm not playing it. And then those same friends were like, this is a new campaign, you should really try this. And so did. And right off the bat, I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, Ed will be on around 9, a little after 9. So myself, Tony, and Eric and Anna are going to do some pre-chat here as we're waiting for Ed, because he had a previous commitment. That's why we're starting late. But we didn't want to just jump right in with it at 9. I wanted to get this thing going. So if we run late tonight, it's okay. Yeah, we're going to get into all that. We'll find out Tony's background in Living Greyhawk, because Casey's inquiring already. So maybe a new player for us there, Eric. Maybe a new barrier geek for you.
I don't know.
That would be good.
She's not from our neck of the woods, though.
So, is Anna?
I'm not
Anna's not either.
Ouch.
Exactly. We can. Yeah.
That's true.
You're gonna let Anna in, but not Tony? Come
exactly.
on.
I see how that is. I see how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh.
One outsider. That's why we're geeks, not geek.
You know, you should be one feeling.
I don't know. How good are you at rolling dice?
I think Tony's way more of an insider than I have ever.
It's got to be better. Anyone's better than you, Eric.
Oh my God.
I actually, it's a joke that I roll amazing dice. They don't let me, like, if we're gonna roll stats and stuff, they don't let me do it.
Nice.
They're like, no. I'm like, what do you mean? 3d6? They're like, you got 3 18s.
No,
After
no.
16. What the hell? I'm like, watch me roll.
Those weighted dice.
Tony 0.5 is so real.
Pretty much
Can
yours.
Tony do anything random?
You guys are all making me have to go back and re-hit a lot of resets on all these giveaways here. So that you guys are doing. Hey Tim, I got you for a 2-week VIP badge for that tournament. We're almost there. In fact, is any Infinite Dimensions people on? No, I don't think they are. Boom. Tonight. They got a giveaway on Thursday. Yeah, and I really stepped it up, Eric, so.
Looking at all the graphics. This is
You like that?
It's pretty cool, actually.
Thank you. The music is by Dark Fantasy Games. That I got all the rights to it all, so I'm not going to get banged by Twitch or YouTube. And this song is called "They Fought as Legend." So.
Probably can't hear it.
Oh, that's because of the way it's set.
So,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you have to, but the people watching it.
No way, John. No way, John. Come on. You had a great show today, John, and you're killing it. You're absolutely killing it, man. And that was really cool of you giving away a spot in the fundraiser to one of your viewers today on this afternoon. Oh, no problem. Ravishing Ranger, thank you for following just recently. I saw you on the list. I really appreciate it. All right, let's go to our entrance screen here. Welcome! So, did you ever want to know everything about Dark Elves? Tonight's the night, I think. Let's hope. But we're going to have a little butting heads tonight as we go from the Forgotten Realms side of it to the Greyhawk side of it. And trust me, on Cannon Fire, I got to step my game up, or I'm going to get in a lot of trouble with Gary Julian and Longitalis, Rich, and Big Mac, and everyone. So I got to do my part here. I'm sorry, I had it a little too high.
They're afraid we're going to
Can be that at least one show. This is
All right, so we're going to come on a couple minutes early here.
Realms heavy one show. This is
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So I'm Jay Killer Gazumba, as you all know. Thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for waiting as we started an hour late from our normal time. And I have some fantastic guests with me tonight, and one that's scheduled to come on in about a half hour. So let me introduce everyone. Everyone knows the wonderful and great Anna Meyer, who was basically a co-host and my partner in crime for all of our talk shows. Welcome back for I think this is like your 5th time on 2 talk shows and 2 D&D games, Eric Mengi, right? It's at least 4 times you've been on already.
4, yes.
Yeah. And brand new to the show, and I'm so happy and honored to have her on, Tony Winslow Brill. Did I say that correctly, Tony?
Yes, you did.
Thank you so very much for coming on tonight. And Ed Greenwood will be on. Trust me about this. We were talking on Discord, and he had a meeting. He had to be on until 9 p.m. Eastern, and he will be on shortly. So Eric and I were before Christmas. We're talking about let's get an idea for something for a show, and they said Dark Elves, right, Eric? Is that how it started?
Always ready to talk about them. I love them. They're a fantastic race. They're a fantastic part of D&D.
I just hit the wrong button. See, I did it once a show. I
Okay,
did it.
now
I
you've
hit the
done it.
wrong freaking button already. I am sorry.
You've done it.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm moving my stream deck as far away from me as possible. I did it. Yes, Dark Elves are a blast. I'm sorry, Eric. You can start over with that. Jay
good.
being a dumbass. Yes.
It gave me an opportunity to reach over and grab something off the bookcase without anyone noticing.
I noticed.
Dark elves are fun, and we're going to get into the dark elf meat in a little bit. But what I wanted to do was this: I wanted to introduce and let's start with our newest guest, Tony. And a lot of you may not know this, but a major publication that just came out, Tony's an author of, and that is Candlekeep Mysteries, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So please tell us your contributions to this brand new publication, please, if you don't mind.
The publication is like it's a collection of various adventures, and it runs the gamut of levels. So there should be 17 adventures inside of it, and they kind of had a different person write each different adventure. And I was lucky enough to be part of it. And if everything still holds true, I have the high level adventure in there. So.
Fantastic. What's the name? If I may ask, what's the name of the adventure?
My adventure is called The Book of Xanthoria. And yes, they are all mysteries of some variation or some type. So.
Very cool. Very cool. Was it? I'm assuming it was a blast writing that up and being honored to put that in there. How did that come about?
So actually, I was working. I do some other things, like I work with Eric, and I've done some other things here and there in the DMs Guild. And Eric had said I'd been around for a while, so thanks, Eric.
He didn't hear the audience. I don't think heard that.
He called me old, so there's that. But Wizards just reached out directly to me and said, "Hey, we've seen some of the things you've done, and we like what we see. Would you be interested in working on a project?" And I was like, "Duh." It's like, yeah.
No brainer. Very cool.
Yeah, and it was super fun to work on. So
excellent. So Eric did a little tidbit here about you go back to Living Greyhawk days. Could you care to elaborate on that?
So I played Living Greyhawk for a very long time, like right from the get-go. I kind of started there, and that was kind of my first better experience with organized play. And I did a lot of stuff back then. I wrote adventures. Somebody asked earlier if I was triad. I was not, because my husband told me he would divorce me if I said yes. And they asked me 3 times. And I said no. So instead I did, meta org stuff and special missions, and did whatever other hand. I wrote an interactive, or lots of interactives. I wrote a bunch of adventures, that kind of thing. So,
what region would you have been in?
I was High Folk.
Really?
Ooh.
Oh.
Yep.
That's a good region.
Yeah, definitely. I think we had that a couple of them on. Correct, Casey? We had some High Folk people on. So you will go back to 3rd edition. Anything before then?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I started playing actually when I was 10 years old. So
okay. Nice.
I actually had a teacher that put that in there, like, hey, you I know you really like all like the Greek mythology stuff and everything, and I think you'd like this thing. And so my cousin and I started kind of reading it and playing it, and it was pretty awesome. We were kind of hooked by then. As a matter of fact, I even drug out some of my old stuff.
Very cool. Oh, trust me, the old stuff is it's my gold. It is. Yep. And we all have our pile. Right? We have our pile of old stuff. Or stuff, right?
Better than yours.
I have mine here too. Yeah.
That is an amazing resource.
Yes. Yep. Speaking of old stuff, Eric.
Yeah. What's up?
Let's reminisce a bit. Are you ready? We're going to reminisce with Eric for a minute. I want to do this. And look at this. What is that? What is that? Oh my gosh, Ed's coming on now. There we go. Nice and early. The Greyhawk Grumbler was
Greyhawk Grumbler.
Was your...
That was a
bright and early, Ed. Thank you.
Say hi.
Ed, thank you for coming on, and so early too. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
I can get through business calls really fast. If I talk like this all the time.
We're just
I'll
doing
stop now.
we're just doing some introductions here as we started up and
Sorry.
no, this is great. This is fantastic. Welcome. We haven't even gotten into any Dark Elf talk yet. Tony just gave us a little background, and I'm busting Eric about the old days here and his great Greyhawk Rumbler. I wanted to remind everyone in the community. He 3 of them. Did you 3 of them? I think, Eric.
We did 3 of them. Yes,
3 of them.
They were a lot of fun. So those who aren't familiar with it, back in Living Greyhawk, we wanted to give people introductions to what we were doing with the adventures set in the city of Greyhawk. And I thought the best way to give people a lot of exposition was to make it funny. And the way we did it is we created this complete yellow journalism rag called the Greyhawk Rumbler that was full of racy stories and innuendo and rumor and blatant falsehoods, and packed it full of jokes. So it was 1 part Onion, 1 part Stephen Colbert, and a little bit of journalism in there where we snuck story seeds for all the upcoming adventures, and also allowed us to make fun of the campaign at the same time. It was a hoot.
I never put 2 and 2 together. In the very first Living Greyhawk, and Casey Brown will vouch for this, I always loved them because I found them, in some locations. Like, oh, this is great. And then I didn't know who Saloom Suis was until we met. And I was like, you did it? You did the Greyhawk Rumbler? That's awesome. So just a little tie-in for that from the Living Greyhawk days. And as we've said before, Eric is the worst die roller next to the DM that I've ever had play in my campaign, right? I think in 2 adventures, your characters hit like twice.
Right.
1 adventure, she hit 0, not 1 time. So, but it's a great character, especially Priestess of Mayheen. It's fantastic. Thank you all. Hey, and Jose Ortiz just said hi on chat. Hey, Jose, what a beautiful Jose. Can I shout this out real quick? Jose, I'm going to show this. What a beautiful, beautiful portrait you did for Eric's character. I just got to go right to the right folder here, and let me get this and pull this out here. Boom. All right. So that is what a wonderful, awesome. Wonderful portrait. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to show it during the game next time we play. With the Mayheen symbol and everything on. So
that sword is actually a normal size sword. She's just so short, it looks big.
Yeah.
And he put in all the dents after Jay's laugh.
After I beat her up, pretty good. But she saved the party with her spells. That one adventure, the last adventure with the God of the Murloc, she really stepped up.
So much healing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much healing.
So now we're here now that Ed got here early that we expected. Let's crank this up. I want to show you all something, Ed. I want to get you because you are like Ed. I told everyone I've been nervous 4 times doing interviews in my life here. First time I did Leonard Lakofka. We had Leonard on like 40 times. Eric Mona, Luke Gygax, and tonight. I'm a little nervous, so.
I'm just a normal gamer who wouldn't go away.
Yeah, so. But thank you so very much for all 3 of you coming on. This is going to be a fun time, definitely. All right, here is a little blurb from the Monster Manual. Under Elf, and this is like 78. Drow. The Black Elves or Drow are only legend. They purportedly dwell deep beneath the surface in a strange subterranean realm. The Drow are said to be as dark as fairies are as bright, and as evil as the latter are good. Tales picture them as weak fighters but strong magic users. So we had that first tidbit of them in the original Monster Manual, right? And that is 78, I believe. When we first learned of the Drow. Ed, where were you at that point in your career? Were you not involved at that time, or was it, I
was playing D&D for the second time. I mean, we tried it in 1975 with the 3 booklets and thought, no, this is just going to devolve into an argument. Great idea, but not enough there. And then when the Greyhawk booklet, the original pamphlet booklet came out, we changed our mind. But 1978 was, Monster Manual was out. Player's Handbook with Jack Vance's magic system in it. was just being released, and we said, okay, this is it. I changed the realms, which predates D&D by about 10 years.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah. The world came first. The only role-playing game when I was a kid was Kriegspiel, the Napoleonic.
Okay.
Train your officers' staff by playing broken telephone. You know, you do the fog of war thing by putting everybody in different rooms, and they send messengers around, and they totally screw up. And that teaches your officers that, you know, guess what? It doesn't work like on the parade ground. You know, and that had been going on literally since Napoleonic times. The only war games were either the beginning of hexes, and they were mainly American Civil War refights, or they were growing out of Donald Featherstone doing miniatures gaming in Britain. And of course the militaries, and I knew this because my dad was a part of NORAD, the militaries, American and Canadian, had internal simulations which grew out of Kriegspiel, but there was no role-playing games. D&D and Tunnels and Trolls, you know, were coming along, but so that's where I was in 1978. And where Gary got that in 1978, that's straight out of Old Norse mythology. The Svart Elfar and the Dark Elfar. The Black Elves and the Dark Elves.
Okay.
That he's pretty much just pulled that from mythology. That little paragraph.
Okay. So right out of Norse. Right out of the Norse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know how it started, but once we got to this, and I have the compilation, I have the older ones, but the G series, it's the first time I recall ever seeing a dark elf in any adventure. Basically they're behind the scenes. Aklavdra and her two minions are in G3 pulling the strings. That's my first knowledge of them. And also, you had the deities and demigods which came out, which had Loth in it, but then you had these dark elves, and they were elder elemental god. And I was all confused, being 11 years old at the time. Like, what's going on? So I don't. What were all your thoughts early on, in this first sighting of dark elves?
Well, I only can speak from lore on this one, but it actually goes back to organized play.
Okay.
Because G series were done at Gen Con, and Ed can fact check me on this one. They were all done at Gen Con before they were published, and they were all part of a tournament, Ed? That was my understanding.
Yeah, so, they were the Giants, against the Giants is what they called it collectively later.
When they went through the tournament, everyone got to play G1, which was against the Stay of the Hill Giants, and that was done on Friday. Then on Saturday, they moved on to the Frost Giants lair. And those who didn't make the cut didn't get to play G2. And from that, the winners of that, they whittled it down to the fewer that got to play G3. And so only the best of the best got to the third level of the Fire Giants hall and met a Aklavdra behind the wall of tentacles. And it apparently...
There's a picture right there.
Madness. Just what is going on? We've been fighting giants, bigger giants, even bigger giants. Then all of a sudden there are these weird black-skinned elves with magic and magic items that dissolve in sunlight. It was just mind-breaking to all the poor players that were in it, because they were not expecting it at all. And it was, my understanding is it was like just a revolution when they dropped the drow onto an unsuspecting populace.
Mm-hmm.
At least those are the stories I've heard.
Yep. That's true. That's all true.
Because I was 8 at the time. And
we were like little kids.
Wow. Hey, Dad, can I go to Gen Con? No. All right.
I should tell you my early Gen Con story.
Please do. Please do.
Okay. My dad was a spy in the era of picking up microfilm. And you know where his drop was, or his pickup was?
Gen Con, Lake Geneva.
No, the Playboy Mansion in Chicago. And I was his cover, because I was his son. He was just driving around America. Remember, in those days, you didn't need passports or anything. You just drove across the border. And I was absolutely blown away by the Playboy Mansion. Not for the ladies. Because what you must understand is, in Illinois and in Wisconsin, it's against the law for them to solicit minors for the purposes of drinks. And despite what you may believe or have heard, the purpose of a Playboy bunny is not to have sex with somebody, it's to sell them overpriced cocktails. So they don't establish eye contact with little kids. Anybody they think is underage, they literally walk past them and ignore them because they mustn't be seen by somebody to possibly be soliciting a kid for alcohol. So they just ignore you. So I was gobsmacked because the Playboy Mansion, which no longer exists, by the way, all the blacklisted people like Shel Silverstein, the children's author who wrote, The Giving Tree and Where the Sidewalk Ends and all that, he was this young black guy with a shaved head. First time I'd ever seen someone with their head shaved, playing barrel house piano with the bunnies draped all over it, singing along. And they had a library that was one room that was all beautiful old bookshelves with no doors, except two of the bookshelves pivoted were dwarves. And I was just sitting there going, wow. And there was an ad right outside the Playboy Mansion on a telephone pole, wooden telephone poles in those days. Somebody had stapled up a thing about Gen Con. And I said, Dad, can we go? And he's, well, son, come on, I never asked for anything, which was true. And he said, well, okay. And he drove up Rand Road and over the border and found his way to Lake Geneva in the Horticultural Hall, which was this little room with sand tables set up, and everybody was standing there. They're all fat, overweight nerds. No t-shirts in those days. They all had shirts like this with the pocket protectors were full of pens that had already leaked down inside, stained shirts. And they had sand tables, and they had blast circles that they'd made of coat hangers, and they had rulers and slide rules, and they were actually moving mini armies. And that was the first Gen Con. And right after that was the giant modules. So I that was Gen Con 8. And my next one was 13, which was in Wisconsin Parkside. So I missed the thingy.
Wow.
I actually went to college at Parkside.
Okay.
For my first year of college.
Great place. I loved it.
Yeah.
So Ed was on a spy mission and got lured into D&D by that.
Yeah,
That's just wow.
Damn. Yeah, I wish
Crazy.
I had a good story.
Crazy. Tony played with her cousin, right? Tony, you played.
Yes,
you played
I did. I played with my cousin, and actually, I did also tuck my mom that first year. She actually brought it up to me. She came up and she was like, "Hey, I heard there's this thing in because I lived on the border of Wisconsin and Illinois." She's like, "I heard there's this thing up in do you want to go try it out?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't even know what it is, but we're going."
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Oh man, and my first con was in 1990. I went to one. I met Gary Gygax in like the 80s at Origins East when it was at Westchester University. I think it was 82, and then I did. That was it for me. But oh my gosh. So Tony, did you ever play the G series? You ever go through the G&D series back in the day?
I did,
Okay.
but again, it was a long time ago, and I was young, so
Monty Hall style.
My cousin and I don't even know, we would take turns. It was just the two of us for a while. Actually, I should say, the very first role-playing game I played was, we played Battletech first, then MechWarrior, then I got into D&D.
I still stream a MechWarrior and Battletech game once in a blue moon, Tony. Yeah,
Nice.
love it. Love Battletech. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was fun. So I just kind of went from there and did all kinds of stuff. So, but yes, I have, but it, obviously, and I have, I think most of those modules. I should look and someday keep a track of which ones I'm actually missing, but my bookshelves are all like sad because I don't have real bookshelves. They're kind of warping because of the weight of all the books.
No, those are real bookshelves. If they warp under the weight of books, they're real bookshelves. You just have to rebuild them with bookshelves you can climb.
Yeah.
There
Yes.
you go.
So they can take the weight of the books and your body as you climb up.
So this may sound a little creepy, but Anna has actually been in my basement No,
Yes.
that does sound creepy.
I usually tell that story. I love to go to Jay's basement. And people who haven't watched this show, they were like, "What are you talking about?" But people who watch this show, they understand why I wanted to go and see Jay's basement. So
25 IKEA bookshelves in my basement.
Yeah.
So
The
that's
house
how
is
you know.
big. The whole basement is one huge room.
Yeah.
And he has like a game table and
8
I
by 8,
don't kid you, had like 30 feet of bookshelves full of D&D stuff. It's
Yeah,
like
so-
more than most well-stocked game stores have in
I'm a 53-year-old
it's
kid.
just amazing. Yeah.
Love the game. All right, so let's jump ahead here, and then we'll get into we'll just free for all after this. 1983 comes around. Someone's idea in this book, Player's Handbook. I mean, Arcana, the Player's Handbook Addendum, to allow Dark Elves to be player characters.
Yeah.
Right, and this is where it all starts. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And the bottom line here, and I want to just You're
jumping too far.
Okay. All right. Go for it, Ed.
You're
go.
jumping over the D module.
What are you doing?
Oh yeah. I am because the D module is my Bible. The D module
because the D modules is what forced them to do the Drow as player characters. Because there were campaigns of that at TSR.
This is one of the. It's on my wall of fame. It's wonderful. This is the Bible, whereas your Men's and Barons and box sets and your Drow the Underdark are basically the Bibles for Forgotten Realms. This is the Bible for Greyhawk, because everything you need's in here. What you want to know about a dark. This is a whole campaign setting, basically, right? And you can go from there. Yeah. And then this leads into into Q1, which love it or hate it, it's got its good points.
Well, Gary didn't know what to do for that level of the Abyss, and they were sitting at a pub, which I've been to. That you can't see the tablecloth they swiped because they swiped it. But I have seen some of the matching tablecloths covered with ketchup stains and stuff. That Dave Sutherland, they were sitting at the table, and he looked down at the tablecloth and said, "Why don't we just use this pattern that's in the tablecloth as the web of Lolth?"
Oh.
Are you serious?
And, yes. And then the rest of them at the table provided cover so that Dave could lift the tablecloth, stuff it, ketchup stains and all, down his shirt, and leave the bar.
Wow, that is, I never heard that story. That is unbelievable. And here it is. There it is.
Yeah, the essential lore. Okay, that's a bit like, remember the tablecloth was square. They did play with it a bit, but what it was one of those horrible red fake tartan plastic or vinyl tablecloths. You know, the sort that you see in bars and stuff everywhere. But one pattern stood out because of the different coloration, and they swiped that pattern out of the tablecloth. Got rid of the rest of the tartan, and the rest is history. Okay, I'll shut up now.
No, that was great. No, so Rob Phantom just said that may be his favorite D&D story of all time. Now, previously we had Skip Williams on, who told us that and multiple Living Greyhawk people said over a drunken fest at a con, they decided to destroy the Duchy of 10 with right, Eric, with the ether thing that they did. I mean, that was
we've heard about how
I was
Monty
not
Hall
in on that meeting, and I objected.
Yeah, so that was one of the top ones. This may outdo
We've
it.
heard about how Monty Hall got coined and a bunch
Jim
of other
Ward.
cool things on the show.
Yeah,
So this is up there among the very, very best.
I know.
Yep,
What
awesome.
a great story.
Yeah.
My
Well,
God.
we walked that pub because we were walking to Gen Con because the Greyhound bus terminal in downtown Kenosha dropped us as close as it was, and we walked from there. So we passed the pub.
Unbelievable. Just
I was a
alcohol.
teenager at the time.
Alcohol's a bad thing when it comes to a real good when it comes to
never
ideas
know.
for D&D. I mean, you can really have your epiphanies or not.
Are you kidding? That's how I learned about all the forthcoming products. I would take the TSR staff across Route 12 to the pub next door, or the next door pub, depending on whether you take its real name or what TSR turned it into so they wouldn't get sued. And I would buy pitchers of beer for all the secretaries in the secretarial pool, and they would spill the beans because nobody ever bought them pizza and beer. And this guy from Canada had all this funny Monopoly money that Dragon had paid him. And that was what it was for. In those days, you couldn't shop Gen Con until you dropped because there weren't enough vendors. So I had enough money to spend on food.
Food and booze. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And booze. Well, I didn't consider American beer booze. It was more like purified water.
Yeah, the craft brews aren't out yet, right? Sam Adams isn't out yet. The first one, you know?
So the Canadian joke about beer is, why is American beer like making love in a canoe?
It's effing close to water.
Bingo. Yep. What it meant is the alcohol content is lowers. You can fill university students full of it before they get drunk, so that you can sell them more.
This is good.
And of course, being a Canadian used to beer that's 3 times as strong, I drink this stuff and say, "What is this? Did someone water this down?" But I don't say that. I just keep drinking it, and people are babbling about forthcoming products and falling face down on the table, and I'm going, "Yeah, come on."
Wow. By the way, someone just John at Blue Box just gifted 10 subs. I apologize for the same thing coming over and over again, but John, thank you so very much. What a great stream you have too. Fantastic stream. So, man, already like in the first half hour, some unbelievable stories already. Ed, thank you. Just jeez. It makes me sad that I didn't get more involved until a few years ago. Just unbelievable. Some of the stuff that is legendary now.
The unsung heroes of D&D are the middle-aged ladies, non-gamers, most of them, who were hired by TSR for the secretarial pool, because they had to input everything, and they had to change scribbled notes from half-drunken long-haired designers into business English. That was actually scary at times, because I'd be writing medieval stuff for the realms, and they'd be trying to turn it into Midwestern English, modern American business speak. They talk about negotiating mergers and stuff like that. I'd be going, no, prithee, good my lord, knowst thou how I trow? And the secretary is frowning down at my words, pulling out her dictionary and trying to rewrite it into business English. But I mean, they made those products. They input them, and then of course out they'd go to the editors upstairs, and the editor would go, "What the hell?" and then fix it.
So I am off my game, okay? Because
sorry,
you got Ed. This is wonderful. No, I forgot to even set the giveaway up because we were just BSing and you hopped on. It's like all right. So all the people are hitting drawing. You're all SOL. Let me redo it here. Let me set it up. Oh my gosh. All right. So we got both Reaper Miniatures and Troller Games giveaways tonight. $25 gift certificates. We'll do them at the end of the show. And there's one other thing I'd like to do, if you do not mind, because I got Carlos Lysing, the legendary Carlos Lysing, on, and he's at work, and he's in the stream right now. I want to announce one thing real quick, if you don't mind. Alrighty. So Carlos and I at Gen Con, the last in-person Gen Con 2019, we did a module together that we each co-wrote called Horror in the Holes, and I did a 5-hour part. Carlos did a second 5-hour part. So Carlos is on now. I want to just put this out there. Tomorrow, my first ever published module goes to print through Carlos's company, and it's called Horror in the Holes. It's Greyhawk stripped out, and here we go. There it is.
I love that cover.
Okay. All right. So by Carlos, yes. And this is 75 pages of goodness in the order of Kalu, because it's stripped, order of your campaign. Thank you for the follow. And it has my spin on it. There's a lot of miniatures rules set in. I have multiple pages and appendix of all my custom rules that Carlos has painstakingly written up, and please note it'll be on Carlos's storefront, and we'll give some away during the fundraiser very soon. But I just wanted to announce that while Carlos was on right now, Carlos, you did a wonderful, wonderful job with this. The artwork on the cover is wonderful, and all the things you have done. And we have a lot of playtesters on: Gaetano, Jason Jacobson, Walt Culp, Bill the Master Crafter. And I'm missing a couple people. I know Taco Turtle. You all play tested this over in settings at cons. Thank you, and it is going to be a wonderful one. I can't wait. I can't wait till you all get a chance to see it. So I just wanted to say that while I had Carlos on.
Yeah, I love that it was. You got a label JS1.
Yes, yeah. Well, of course, I'm a little bit of an arrogant SOB there.
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, with my initials, yes. So I mean, come on, if Dave Arneson could have DA1 for his stuff, why can't I have my initials, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. But
so what's the gaming company called? Because I can't see it on the tiny screen.
Oh, CASL Entertainment is Carlos. Please feel free to link all your stuff in. I'm going to link it up for you here. Carlos has done how many published modules do you have, Carlos? He has like 20 now that are published.
I think it's about 20.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I put the links in, and Ed, I'll send it to you in Discord too, so you have all the information.
Great. I want to buy this thing.
Good. Awesome. Thank you. And he has some great Marquesa modules from Marquesa from the Slave Lords. All wonderful stuff. And Carlos is a genius at getting it so it's setting neutral for the layman, you know what I'm saying? So to make sure that we don't get a slam down on people from WotC. But yes, about 20, Carlos says. But thank you. I know I wanted to do it while Carlos was on tonight, and we'll get back to our discussion here. And thank you all for your patience on that. Oh my gosh, you guys are going insane with the subs. Thank you. So, Dark Elves.
Yes.
Remember Dark Elves?
Dark Elves.
Hey, Dark Elves.
So player characters come out and everyone goes crazy. Everyone's going to play them, right? And this is 1983. I'm in high school, and Walt, everyone knows Walt. He sits to my left. Not Tom, but Walt over, plays a Dark Elf named Devitt, fighter clerk thief. Triple, because you can triple, we play old school. And that just started it. Surface, she's neutral good. And that just started it. For me, that's when it really started. Wow, you can play these as player characters. So who wants to talk about some experiences with actually playing a Dark Elf character in a game? Anyone?
I never played any.
Tony, you never played a Dark Elf?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We haven't played now since pandemic times, but we have a campaign that we all play Dark Elves.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's fun. It's pretty interesting. I'm the only female, so and in character too. So
you run the party then? Yeah,
I do. But they complain a lot, and so it's kind of fun to do that like dynamic kind of a thing. So
is it 5e?
No, it's 3.5.
Okay. Excellent.
Though I think we did switch to Pathfinder actually. So
excellent.
And I'm doing one right now, actually. Just started with Mike Shea, who is Sly Flourish. He is doing Rime of the Frost Maiden. And I picked a Drow Priestess of Illustrae as my character.
Just had Sly on a couple weeks ago. What a great guy.
Yeah, and the best part is that since the frozen forest are now completely under darkness, she thinks it's perfect. And why end the rhyme? So that'll be an interesting twist. As she's like, let's keep it the way it is. That works well.
What system is he playing it in?
5e.
Okay. I know he's big on publications.
Although he took one of the secrets, which was the slod egg that's implanted inside your character, and I rolled badly and got that one. But instead, it's going to be a giant spider put there.
Now you've told everyone.
I know it.
That's the thing with Twitch. You give away a lot of secrets on Twitch, right? Hey,
I don't think any of the players are watching.
We've spoiled a lot of stuff here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we should tell Alton Brown to come up with a slod egg recipe. Okay.
Yeah.
There's enough. That their cookbook is doing exceptionally well. That came out. If you saw that, I forget the name of it, but that thing.
Heroes Feast.
Heroes Feast. That's almost a bestseller on Amazon.
Yeah.
So
looks great. Wish there was more to it.
Yeah. I remember when after the Unearthed Arcana came out, and then I was forced by my players back in Sweden to run an Underdark campaign, and we played a whole week. We took a vacation week off in fall, and we played a whole week in an Underdark campaign, and it was kind of awesome. So yeah, we had a lot of fun. So that was a remake of the G series, but I kind of took out the giant bit and just went straight down in the Underdark and made my version of it.
Nice.
Greyhawk version of it. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah. So that was I was the one that was forced me to run the games. Yeah.
Time to freewheel it here. Whatever happens from this point.
Yep.
So Pluffett Smedger, who's Gary Julian, the great Gary Julian, who wrote The Living Greyhawk, for third edition, and as a one host of Cannon Fire, and is a freaking guest of the show here, asked a question in chat, and we're going to start with him, and that is, what is the difference between the original Dark Elf and to what it has evolved into now?
Mustaches.
Yeah, I'm so interested in the story, taking it from the early modules into Forgotten Realms and into the wider world of fantasy, so to speak.
Well, I think there's two main prongs. One of them was Gary only showed us Lolth-dominated matriarchies.
Yeah.
And there was always this, but what if I want to play a good drow? And everybody would say, you mean like Drist? Well, no, I want mine to, and that would also meant that some female players wanted to play female characters who were drow and good. And so when we did Drow the Underdark, the first Drow the Underdark, I was asked editorially to put two things into that product. And one of them was the drow tech. Like there's a picture there, the gal with a metal arm.
Yeah, I had that scrolling through. It's a wonderful picture.
Newt Ewell, who is the editor on that, actually asked me, could you put in 2 pages on that? Yeah. And I wrote, and then they wasted space with the Celtic knotwork.
Oh man! Oh yeah, they wasted space with this, Ed.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
I love it, but that could have been text. But I'm a greedy gamer. Number one, and number two, the other thing they asked me to do was create the goddess for the good drow, who could survive on the surface and who would be worshipped on the surface. So I created Illustre. So I'm sorry, you all have to put up with that name because of me. Because I was sitting there at my computer and I just said, okay, alphabetically we wanted an E deity because we don't have enough E deities. We have a Clavdra, but we don't have enough E deities and in the realms. So we added an E deity, and I said, okay, and I'm going to make it sound elvish, not sound human. So I'm not going to have a deity called Conan or Bran or something like that. I wanted something that sounded elvish, so it had lots of bubbly vowels. So I just made it up off the top of my, let's say, head, and kept writing. Awesome. And then I had already play tested for TSR a drow traveling merchant traveling in the Underdark. I did not have time to do any play testing for Menzo, the box set, because a room away from where I am now, when there were 2 beds with poplin bedspreads in that room, I had laid out 17 by 35 sheets of paper on it, and had taken my trusty Staedtler pen and my trusty Staedtler circles template and had drawn stalagmites for the ground of Menzo, because Bob gave us this tiny little map, which was then redrawn for the beginning of Homeland. The front piece of the novel Homeland in tiny mass market paperback, and I had to turn that into the Menzo map. So I ruined a bedspread and spent a weekend drawing the map and typing at the same time. Both the map and the typing suffered. Don't double multitask when it's something like that. But yeah, I had to make up all of the stuff and do the runes and get it all out of there, and then FedEx it to TSR because production wanted it right away. Because that was in the days where I once asked TSR over the phone from Canada, well, do you want it good or do you want it now? And they said, Ed, what a silly question. You never have to ask us that. The answer is always, we want it now. So you just did it and sent it. And there you go. That's why we have the Dark Dancer. Wow. And then I spent a weekend detailing her like fury so that when Jeff Grubb phoned me at the public library and I answered the phone and he said, so tell me about this drow with long hair and no clothes on who dances under the moonlight. You know, I have to sell this to the all-female upper staff. And I said, well, yeah, but her hair, you won't see anything. Her hair swirls around her. She can control her hair and tresses, just like the Seven Sisters. He goes, go on.
Yeah, like this picture right here, Ed, that you put in there.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that's pretty harmless.
Well, the idea was that she would be something very different from Lolth. So I needed somebody who took joy in being an elf and had something to do with the moonlight and had something to do with forests and had something to do with being completely different from Lolth. That's basically what it was. Because we had Varan already established. And I had to sort of put a third leg on the stool that was completely different. That's all. So away I went.
For my drow and the Rime and the Frost Maiden, she's a figure skater.
It works.
It's dancing in the snow.
Are you serious, Eric? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I purposely handicapped my character for fun campaign things like that.
Oh, you're on thin ice now.
Oh, that was so bad.
So
I'm safe in Canada. You can't get me.
But the Lolth Illustri dichotomy or rivalry just fascinates me to no end. Is one of the best aspects of the story of the Drow. I keep wanting to explore that as much as I can because it's kind of the old evil empire versus the rebellion from Star Wars, but put into the Underdark, where you have all these outlawed priestesses of Illustri trying to free the Drow from the dominion of Lolth. It's just such a brilliant idea and just begs fantastic campaigns.
I love Illustri, and I love the book, the Drow the Underdark book, when it first came out. I said, I got to pilfer a lot of this back to Greyhawk. Absolutely. Hold that thought. I have a terrible South Jersey accent outside Philly, as you can tell, so no one can understand what I'm saying half the time. But how do you pronounce Drizzt? I say Drizzt. Is it Drizzt? I say Drizzt. Drizzt. Okay. Yes. I've always said Drizzt.
To rhyme with pissed.
Okay.
Just like drow rhymes with cow, not with row.
Drow rhymes with cow. It's not drow your boat. It's drow. So I said drow right and Drizzt wrong. Okay, got it. Alrighty. That solves that problem.
I mean, here, in the realms, I don't know about the realm, you can pronounce them any way you want because there's a vowel shift depending on where you are regionally.
Okay.
That takes care of people who just have always pronounced it the other way. I don't want to tell gamers how to pronounce things, but because it's a gaming company and we publish official stuff, they always want official rulings. So we had to come down quite a while ago for both of those. And just listen to Bob. He'll say it's Drizzt. I created the character myself. It's Drizzt, So, okay, bow to bow.
Okay. Because, when we found out that we were wrong about Ouija is actually Ouija, like the Ouija board from Len, we heard it over and over and over again from Len. Yeah. And that was, we just had to make sure we were pronouncing them correctly. So it's Drow. Yep. Okay. All righty. So, Ed.
It was House Bainley.
What was that, Eric? I'm sorry?
The one that throws everyone is House Bainley. Which is sometimes pronounced Boehner, but I
don't know about that.
Or House Bainray, but I always wanted to do it with like the French.
You could do Bainray because half the gamers in the world can't roll their R's.
Bainray.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you've had throat surgery like I have, you can't roll your R's anymore, so it's gone. So you have to say Bainray.
Yeah. So for Scots and Scandinavians are good then. Yeah.
Yeah.
When Grey the Isle did Viconia in Baldur's Gate, she did it with a Russian accent, and from that point, I've always assumed all Drow had Russian accents.
Oh, God.
What a great character that is in Baldur's Gate, and Baldur's Gate 2. I love that character because she would tell off what was the name of the Aerie, the elf. She'd always tell her off right in the middle of the. I mean, the NPC interaction in that great game is still unparalleled. You know, from all the way back from 25 years ago.
Oh, one story on pronunciation. Gary, once he heard a Swedish gamer say ogre rather than ogre, he loved it. So whenever he remembered, he would say ogre because he thought, "Oh, that's so much cooler."
Yeah, that's how a Swedish gamer would say it. So yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
How'd you do Surfniblin, Anna?
Surfniblin?
Surfniblin?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be the kind
it's
of
a lot easier in Scandinavian.
Yeah.
I can't even say that. I'm like, bleh, bleh, bleh.
But that sounds like a kind of old Nordic word.
Smurfs.
Yeah. Surfniblin. Yeah.
Stolen.
Or you always have as a joke, we always had the Surfniblin speak with Australian accents.
Okay. Yeah.
They're from down under.
Oh, they're down under. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was really bad. Went right over my head at first.
Yeah, you see that guy sitting with a like a placard on a table in the park, and he said that Underdark sounds like Australian. Please convince me otherwise, or something. Yeah, that's kind of awesome. Yeah.
So let's ask Ed some questions real quick. Varen, did you create Varen?
No.
Gonadar.
Yes. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Gonadar was the elder elemental god for Greyhawk.
According to Eric Boyd last week, not necessarily.
Well, yes, not necessarily, but I was asked to give the elder elemental god a realms aspect.
Okay.
And give him a name that they could actually use, because they said, look, if you got priests to this damn thing, they're going to know his name and they're going to use it. So I came up with Gonadar at the time. Now, at the time, Carl Sargent was Mr. Greyhawk.
Right.
So at the time, there was no internet. So there was a very quick letter exchange. Good old-fashioned snail mail. In fact, I remember distinctly one time I had to send a print job, and TSR actually went to General Mitchell Field in Milwaukee to use their teleprinter machine, because the public library in Canada I worked at had a teleprinter machine, and we could actually send stuff in real time. That's how long ago and old and sepia-toned we all are. Anyway, so yes, I created the name Gonadar, and I gave him details for In the Realms, because he was just the elder elemental god. And I had to come up with, you see, for me, it was the stuff to put in that product, Jar the Underdark. It was the trappings. If you walk into a temple, what does it look like? What's the architecture? Do they burn anything in braziers? Are there braziers? All this stuff that the dungeon master has to describe, and the player characters are going to steal, or vandalize, or whatever. So you can't just sort of say, oh, they didn't put that in the book, because we're selling stuff to people. We're charging them money for it. So we better give them something useful.
You hit a home run with this, Ed. I mean, this is pre Men's of Barons by year, correct? It's 91, Men's of Barons is 92. Is that correct?
Yes, okay. That comes first.
Yeah.
And you know what I hated about that product? So much hit the cutting room floor, because you'll notice the error of the product. This is large white margins era of TSR products.
Yeah.
And this was the time, you see, when the realm started, I was overwriting everything by about 300%, which they loved, because they just chop it and get a free product out of it. FR5 is almost all my overwrites from FR1, except what Paul, now Janelle, added with Eric the Alchemist and the Uthgard. He added all that. But all the rest of it, all the stuff about all the other cities, that was stuff that was trimmed out of Waterdeep in the North. That's why FR1 is called Waterdeep and the North. And that's why it's in mouse type, and all of the Norse is 2 pages at the end, because I overwrote so much. But you see that when you do that, you give the company tons of free products, but you give the editors headaches, because they have to cut your stuff. Cutting takes longer than adding, and they always had a gun to their heads for production. So they finally, in self-defense, Julia Martin sent me a Word template document with the drop caps at the beginning of the things and said, Ed, type all of your text for us into these documents, because it forced me to hit the page counts. So what I wrote for Draw the Underdark was twice as many pages as the product had.
So I have to ask this. I have to ask this question.
Feel better.
Eric Boyd's, you can barely see the print in that demi all these books. You can't even read. I mean, it's so small. So how he was so special?
No, I was feeding him and Julia all my God stuff.
Okay.
And Julia Martin, who was then not just editing the book, she was then helming the Realms.
Okay.
She could overrule herself because she was in-house.
Okay.
She wasn't a freelancer. Eric and I were both freelancers.
Okay.
And she just said, this product shall be 6-point type, and we're going to put everything in. And even then, you got demi-human deities later.
Yeah,
because they couldn't put them
powers and pantheons too.
Yeah, the stuff they were going to do, they were going to do right. And you see, because the teenage mothers from Heck and the satanic panic were hanging over their heads, for the longest time, clerics were fighters who couldn't use edge weapons and healed you. And many role players actually played them as they would ask the party to bid on their healing spells. What do you give me if I heal you? What do you give me if I heal you? And all this stuff. And what they wouldn't let us do, because they thought it would offend real world priests of various real world religions, is if you are a priest, here are your taboos. Here's what you do every day. Here are your prayers with how to say them. Here's how you do the rituals. Do you pick up a live chicken or a dead cat and wave them over the altar? What do you put in the brazier to make that smoke? All the stuff. Are you allowed to wear underwear? Does it have to be hair underwear? You know, are you allowed to wear mismatched socks? Or do you wear special socks that have been blessed in the blood of what, you know, all the stuff that you would have as a trapping, we weren't allowed to cover.
Makes sense. I understand.
I mean, so what we were trying to do for the realms was at least the bare bones, and the bare bones is credo. If you worship this deity, here's what you're trying to do. And then I would have a little paragraph that says, here's what the priesthood's really trying to do, like corner the market on socks for the world or whatever it is, because they always had a worldly aim because they had to eat. So they had to get money from somewhere, and people aren't going to give them enough in offerings. So the church always had a side fiddle, like they sold copper, or they had the best gemstone mine, or whatever it was. And I had a little secular aim. Oh, we control this king because he gives us a sanctuary, and there was something little and tiny. And then there was all the stuff, and they wouldn't let me publish that. So that all got poured into Face and Avatars. And of course, the thing that we all hated as designers was player characters always want to fight the gods, so we have to waste space on avatars.
And that's true, because avatars are kind of silly when you think about it. So
yeah. Odin's sword never misses. Yeah. Odin's ravens do this. Okay, that's cool. Why do we need anything else? Odin just does everything.
Monty Hall all the way, though, right? You always had to deal with that.
But if you could cut that page count, that word count out of the product, you could have covered the priests properly. And we could have people wearing priest costumes and giving the right prayers and so on. And of course, that's what the company wanted to avoid for real world reasons.
Makes sense.
But that's how come those products are so crazy. I mean, at the time, I was going, look, I'm a gamer. I don't want margins. I don't want type larger than 6 point. Cram the thing. I'm paying for it. Write in the margins. Overtype in a different contrasting font in the other direction and use the page twice, like a kid with not enough writing paper in class. So you write one way and then you write over it this way. But older me, this me goes, what was I thinking?
Yeah, 6 points kind of doesn't make sense when you're 50 plus. Then
because I'm like this. I'm right up to my face.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I grew up on wartime paperbacks. Give one to a friend in uniform. Paper shortages, so you could see through the paperback pages from both sides, and they were 6 point was generous. Sometimes they were tinier because you could use less paper and still tell a thrilling story, and the guy reading it was probably going to be dead in a week, so he didn't need to keep his eyes to old age. Seriously.
Yeah.
Very interesting and true. Absolutely. I didn't even think about it that way. I just know when I saw those books with Eric, and I was like, oh my gosh, they fit a lot in there. And
well, that's because Julie was on staff and could decree it so.
Very cool.
After FR1, Waterdeep in the North, TSR made a plaque and mailed it to me, snail mail. And when I opened it, it says, "Thou shalt not use mouse type in a product again."
Awesome.
How much times have changed? Because I was doing this one, they gave us a template. It was they already had the art blocked out, and so they knew like you need to fill in these pages and this many words and do not go over.
You see, when I started doing TSR products, they gave us storyboards, which were photocopied sheets of paper with little drawings of all the pages and how they would come up in pairs. And you had to draw in your artwork where you wanted it, and they gave you a budget. You have this many half page, this many quarter page, this many full page, black and white line, no full color, and you can only use them like this. So here's where we want you to put them, sprinkle them comme ça, and you would literally draw your way through the product and then write the text, and the text was always filler. And as a gamer, I hated that. Now, if you look at 5th edition stuff, it's gone all the way. The art has to sell the thing to non-gamers, so the art is gorgeous, and it's always going to be there, even if it's behind the text and you can't read the text as a result. And there's a bit of me that says, okay, could you shrink wrap every product and give me a gorgeous hardcover book of art? And then could you give me a saddle stitched or 3-hole punch with rings, sheets of paper with all the stat stuff I can put out flat at the table? Can I have both? But which is why I should never run a gaming company, because I'd run them into bankruptcy.
But you'd have fun doing it.
Like this took a lot of work just to figure out how to summarize an entire Drow house in one column with art and with having the little bits down here.
Yeah. And for Menzo, I did all the houses in Menzo in one weekend, just writing them in a rush because FedEx would be waiting at the library Monday morning, and it better be in it.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, when I did the Candlekeep just recently, they gave me a template, but it didn't have art, it didn't have anything, it didn't have the book layout there. It's like, we just want you to use this font, use these headers. Here's your word count. And then I asked if I could go over the word count, and they were like, by how much? Yeah,
because they're using it to make sure you don't go way over the word count. That's why the template. Yeah.
And sometimes I'm glad I'm doing maps.
Yeah. You don't have to write.
Yeah. Conversation. My maps look like chicken scratch. I'm like, I'm glad there's a real artist on the other.
Let me tell you something, everyone. And we all know this, and I say this multiple times, but Anna's Patreon is the best $5 a month money can buy, right? Because, what fantastic maps. And I know I'm spoiled. I get my stuff customized for my campaign from Anna, and it's wonderful. But, you can do it yourself now. It's getting easier and easier, and Anna's doing some unbelievable things. So, and like I said, her maps of my local area to Altamira is in the background, as we see on the back screen here. Tony, so what's your favorite deity for Dark Elves? You gotta have a favorite.
For me, it depends on my mood, honestly. But I kind of really like the ooze god. Oh my god, I'm trying to draw a blank.
Jublix.
Yes, thank you. I was like, I can never say it. So yes.
How do you pronounce it, Ed? Jublix or Dweeblix?
Dweeblix is good enough.
Dweeblix?
It's Jublix.
Jublix.
You're supposed to like Blibdool Ploop.
Yeah.
I can't say that one either.
Kuatao. You're supposed to go in the middle. So Jublix. Remember, it's not supposed to be pronounced by human tongue.
Right.
You succeeded.
I didn't make that one up. Gary did that. Gary inflicted that on you.
I know Necromancer Games did it. It's Powers of Chaos or something like that, where you fight Jublix at the end in 3rd edition back in the day. I forget who wrote it, but I ran it, and it was pretty good actually.
It's sticky. It's a sticky.
Oh
yeah, the Faceless Lord, right in the original Monster Manual, right there.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, disgusting. So why do you, just because no other reason other than it's just grotesque? And you like oozes and jellies and puddings and things like that? Tony, is that why?
No, I just think it's kind of, it's just kind of an interesting, like, crazy god of, I thought the interesting stuff that he just got mad and made all the oozes insane kind of thing in the background was kind of fun. I also do like Varun a lot, so. Or Varen, or however you say that. See, I can't.
Veron.
I'm going to, you're going to get slapped me down, all three of you, Eric and Tony and Ed, because once again, I'm a Greyhawker. What is the name of the mercenary group that Jarlaxle's the head of? Is that, they worship Veron?
Brigandelth.
Brigandelth, yes, okay, there you go. Right, and that's who their deity is that correct?
I think Jarlax's deity is himself, myself.
Okay, okay.
Possibly his abs. Possibly.
Okay.
He's Jarlaxle's a worshiper of opportunity.
Okay.
Whatever gets him what he wants.
Yeah.
I said it wrong, Will. I said it wrong.
But with Greyhawk, I don't even know the Greyhawk, since they were like kind of predated the Forgotten Realms drow in the creation process. They always struck me as being much more beholden to various demon lords than
gods. Yes, I agree.
Because at the time, Lolth was just a demon lord.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the major differences between Greyhawk and Forgotten Realms drow is
great point.
That the drow and the Greyhawk went down to the Underdark on their own, where they found the demon lords and they were transformed into the drow. Whereas, and Ed can correct me if I'm wrong, it was all from Arashne's fall in the Forgotten Realms that caused the drow to be cursed and to descend into the Underdark. So they were almost following a god down, and she was already a god at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get all the lore right?
Yeah, I mean, no, that's Eric Boyd doing that. You see,
okay.
When I was doing the realms, I was trying to keep everything mysterious and vague. It's what your characters know, and the characters just know what the priests tell them. And as you know, priests either lie to you because they want their deity to be the best and the prettiest, or the one that you're most scared of, and will therefore obey, or they make things up, or they say, but I talked to the god and the god told me this. And in the realms or any other fantasy setting, the god can actually do that.
I now understand why the TSR editing pool immediately put a censor on you.
Yeah, bingo.
I understand completely.
Yeah. Guess what? The god lies because the god wants these mortals to obey, and the god wants these mortals to think that I, the god of skateboards, am the mightiest god of all. So I lie. So the priests believe me, and they go forth and tell the people the gospel truth. Yes, that's exactly why I got censored, because it was Midwest United States back in the 1960s, and you didn't cross Jesus.
Speaking of going back, not that topic, the drow and the Greyhawk were much more looking for. I thought they were not. Lolth was just one of the demon lords that they followed. Like that was why Klavdra could follow the Elder Elemental God, because it really wasn't that big of a hop for the drow to go from whatever demon lord they were worshiping, probably Lolth and Irinye Sinlu, to over to the Elder Elemental God. It was whoever gave them the power to survive in the Underdark. And there are probably dozens of different demon lords. I know.
Well,
like when I saw one article on Cannon Fire actually, where they followed Nocticula in one of the drow cities over there.
Grazitz is big. is a big one. Anna uses Grazitz a lot in her campaign.
Oh yeah, I've used him. He kind of introduced in my Underdark campaign. So that was some El Clavdra and Lolth and Grast had some kind of struggle over who going to rule the Underdark and the Dark Elves. So yeah, and I kind of liked it because he looked like a Dark Elf. So that was kind of what I made the connection to begin with, and then I kind of took it off from there.
I can see him loving Drow.
So much so that Anna created. Go ahead, Anna. Tell the story of Zestra.
Oh yeah, that was Klavra and Grast. I realized that Grast he's going with his lusts and he can't stop anything. So and Klavra wants to gain power and stuff. So she will use whatever means in order to make sure that she ruling and get influence and stuff. So Grast and Klavra, they created a half sister to Ayus, and I call her Zestra. So she became and it's kind of interesting that and I created that, and then I read in the Gary's the Gord books and stuff, and he created Leda and stuff that was kind of in slightly the same tone, so to speak. So I'm glad I did that before. So I can't say that I copied the other one because I kind of did it without knowing it. So that was kind of, so that became one of my staples, so to speak. So I created, because I thought that IUs should have some competition, so to speak, and I wanted to and Lord Vuron also played a large role in that stuff too. So, and I took him from the Gord books. I kind of really like that part of the story. So I kind of took him. I wanted to have a demon sort of, but I see both Grast and especially Vuron as devils in exile, so to speak. They've taken up root in the abyss, and so they're kind of a lawful demon, so to speak, and they basically live there and are well organized and very, very smart.
I love Anna allowed me to use Zestra in my campaign, so I have her running around as almost like a bounty hunter type, a mystery character.
That's what she's Lord Vuron's kind of eyes and ears. So
really cool.
So because Grast has too many kind of around town and around plains or whatever so he doesn't pay too much attention. He's very absent dad. So Lord Vuron realized that he taught little Zestra all the stuff, and she's a six-fingered drow, so to speak, with special talents, so a drow campion, and she became kind of a gun for hire and kind of a mercenary in various dark arts and stuff, and Lord Vuron's kind of special envoy to be sent on things, and now she's kind of starting to compete with her mother on things too, so that's kind of testy relation there too, so we'll see.
So that gives me an idea
I'm using in my campaigns.
For a great question. We have one from Canadian Patrick to Ed, and I'll ask that in a second, but for Eric and Tony and Ed, give me a character that you have that you did in a writing or you have in your campaign or venture, what they're about, and how the audience could actually use that character in their campaign if you have one. Maybe it's in a writing somewhere, a publication, or that you use. So Eric, start us off. We'll go clockwise. Dark Elf.
Hold on, let me pull it up. I think I have a perfect example for you.
Cool.
In the document that I sent over to you.
Oh, see, I'm sneaky, aren't I?
I figured this is where you were going. Need to pull up her name real quick. Okay. My apologies.
That's okay. And I will put this up here in the corner.
So, in a home campaign, the party was in the Sword Coast region, centered out of Daggerford, or as they all called it, Daggerford. They were ventured into the Misty Forest, where I put a shrine to Illustrae, and this is kind of supported by in the novels. There was a shrine there that got destroyed by clerics of Veyron. I believe these were the Lisa Smedman novels. And since this is put in post-Spell Plague era, I had it actually be starting to be reformed because Illustrae had come back. And they are led by one of the sword dancers, Feiro of House Iliathor. And she is the protector of the Misty Forest Refuge and kind of roams through the entire area up to Jalcoon all the way down to What's the name of the castle, keep, the south of the Misty Forest, Ed?
Which one?
That was destroyed. They had a portal to hell that was opened up.
Yes. Yeah.
So she roams through the whole way trying to collect supplies for the Misty Forest Refuge, and also to take care of any villains and provide aid and succor to everyone that she runs across, because that's part of the
Dragon Spear. Is that it?
That's it.
Yes.
Dragon Spear.
Prometheus. Good job there, Dwayne. Good job.
And she is easy person to run across, although you might not know you're running across her, because she tends to hide in the shadows and not be seen, because she knows how most people in the realms respond to drow. And there's a whole bunch of examples in that Misty Forest Sanctuary book document that I sent over to you, Jay, on how to use her in a campaign, how you can bump into her with a bunch of adventure seeds.
So, audience, don't bombard me, but I know you're going to. Send me your email via Discord, or your email if I have it, or whisper in here. I have a Dropbox set up with this publication by Eric for you all to download at your leisure. Sound good? How many? It's like 4 or 5 pages, right, Eric?
Yeah, it's about 4 or 5.
Yeah. So, all right, and that's the Misty Forest.
I can look at it right now.
Sanctuary, and yes, okay. So that's for everyone tonight to enjoy, and I will get it. I will get you all the connections to that Dropbox where I have it placed. And all right, sound good? It's nice. It's very nicely done, and it's a Dyson logo cartography. Steph Strover and Devin Rue with art, and designed by Eric.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Devin Rue, you might know her from Critical Role fame. I got to her before she was popular. Did the logo at the top, because I found out that WotC or TSR had trademarked the name Forgotten Realms, but they didn't trademark the logo, the actual way they did the little sign. So since the word Forgotten Realms was allowed on the guild, I interpreted that to mean that I could use the logo. They disagree.
2 discords here.
I was gonna say me.
Yeah, nice try.
Nice.
Nice try. They tried to trademark Ed Greenwood too, but
Really?
oh yeah.
How can they trademark your name? Let's not even get into that. Oh my God, that's for another show.
I kind of want to know. That sounds weird.
Gosh.
You can't trademark a name. You can trademark a name in a particular font, like the Amazing Story Swash.
Well, I'm assuming the Elminsters they own, right?
Oh yeah.
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 I can see that but you're a name. That's crazy.
So
wow. So
I love Panel as a fantastic character, and
Eric's generous enough to give this out to everyone. Thank you so very much, Eric, for this. And I'm looking forward to you all checking it out and utilizing it however you wish. And that will be Eric's little gift to everyone for being so nice to watch this evening. Definitely. All right, Tony, give us a character that you may have written somewhere or have an idea on Dark Elf.
Oh boy. Well, I haven't actually published anything involving Drow or Dark Elves or anything like that. So now you're putting me on the spot. Jeez.
I know, I'm so mean. So I
don't have anything fancy like Eric.
Tell us about your character. Tell us about your Dark Elf character you're playing.
That's what's gonna do. Well, I did see somebody had mentioned that they like half drow, so I did make a half drow that actually was a slave because they were half drow, and obviously they're less than because of that. They were only sort of like if you're half elf, you're only half cool. Well, if you're half a drow, you just suck.
Waist up or waist down?
You're out.
Right side.
And so they eventually kind of got out of, they managed to escape and came to the surface, but then they struggle because they were raised in this society, in the Drow society, but things are different. And so it's kind of fun to do a lot of role playing and work on that dichotomy. They're a paladin of vengeance, actually. This is a 5th edition character that I have. So
Vengeance, like Tritherian vengeance, or what's the specific deity vengeance?
For that particular one, they do not follow a particular deity.
Okay.
Because it's 5th edition, again, you don't necessarily have to. Just more the idea of vengeance.
Okay.
And it's pretty fun to kind of do that because, a matriarchal society, slaves and, kind of all this terrible things. And then you're kind of on the surface and it's a culture shock kind of thing. And it's fun to get into disagreements with other player characters on what should happen on things.
Half-Trial's tough. If you play by the old edition rules, you get all the penalties but none of the benefits of being a PC, right? Because you're susceptible to light, but you don't get the innate spell ability, and you lose the magic resistance, of course. But it's a tough way to go. Definitely have Dark Elf. I have one in my campaign that my buddy Alan plays. Milana Sunbane is her name, actually, and she was adopted by the Winchester family in Altamira, and is like considers sister brother kind of thing, and she's a high level character in the knighthood now in the Order of Ulick in my campaign. So, yep. Half-Trial are definitely a fun character to play. Okay, Ed, you gotta have something that's like a tidbit that we all don't know about, a character you've been holding on to, maybe that made the cut, that was cut, or someone Dark Elven that you'd love to share with the audience.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There is a lovely drow lady who is active on the surface of the realms.
Okay.
Her name is Aunlarace, Aunlarace, Aunlarace.
Okay.
And she is a bounty hunter and procurer for hire. As in, you want so-and-so's crown, so-and-so's throne, so-and-so's ruby necklace or ruby slippers, she goes and gets it for you. No matter who's in the way. And she is a sword dancer. She has, and she wields 2 luck blades that are also swords of dancing.
Nice.
And she can aerial dance with them. So if you,
because they get that as a spell ability, so she can have 3 dancing swords at once.
Yep.
I know.
She just does the, let's lure you into
a corridor. Gosh.
Right, now let's dice you. I'll dance at the far end of the corridor, fellas.
Because once per day, they can make any of their swords dance as per a dancing sword. She has 2 dancing swords, and so she can wield her 2 swords plus 3 dancing, so she can attack you with 5.
Yep.
That's cool.
And she is she's a mean lady in the cultured, drink you under the table, pals with Elminster sort.
Wow.
And she got cut from 2 products, so I stopped trying to put her in. Well, because the first one was because a certain TSR staffer, who shall remain nameless because he's still alive, said, "No, I don't want strong female bitches in my products." Yeah.
Wait.
And the second one was, take her out of the adventure because I want a whole adventure just for her.
Oh, okay, so that went to opposite reasons.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So during the Carl Sargent era, you have Bladestorm from the Ashes, and Bladestorm is half elven, but she is a priestess of Tritherian, ranger, especially priestess of Tritherian, multi-class, and she fights with 2 swords and has one that she can sword dance as well. So I was thinking that maybe she was too similar to Bladestorm, but I guess that's not the reason. Okay.
No, it wasn't the reason. I don't think at the time this was that.
Wow.
Carl had written that, or the particular TSR bot had even seen it. Because I seem to remember that From the Ashes came out after that, and Carl and I started corresponding about it.
So could we possibly have her stats and Vesica's? Did I say that correctly, Tony?
Yeah.
Maybe if you could Discord them to me, I'll put them on a sheet and I'll get that put that in the Dropbox for everyone too. How's that sound?
Sure.
I'm not sure what I'm NDA'd for on that.
Oh,
because you see, if TSR buys the product, they own it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way the NDA works, I can't.
Okay.
I can talk about it, but I can't spill the stuff.
No problem.
Because they own it.
Tony's is free and clear though.
Mine is free.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ed,
Do something
you can
for
talk about what her level is and stuff in this chat, and then people can go back and watch the vid if they need to.
Ninth.
Ninth fighter?
Yes.
Straight fighter. Okay.
Yeah.
Neutral good?
Chaotic good.
Chaotic good. Okay. Dark elf, full dark elf female. There you go. So, awesome. Very, very cool. Let's start doing this a little bit. Is everyone okay with this? A little fighting here. I want to pick a bone with you a little bit, Ed. Is that okay?
Sure. Pick all the bones you want.
I'm gonna be very nice about this. So this is my Bible.
Yes.
Fighters. They have fighter academies, drow female, male fighter academies. They have all sorts of different, things in this book, which is fantastic. The fighting style of the Dark Elf is weapon and buckler back in the day, one-handed weaponry for the most part. Back in this D-Day, then in Player's Handbook, when Player's Handbook comes out, it all of a sudden says they can wield in both hands with no penalty, which is really crazily imbalancing when you think about it, no matter what their dexterity is.
No shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
slap chop.
It seems like they were upped. It's kind of like, Tony, I'll give you an example. At Battletech, when the clan invasion came, it seemed like everything got upped, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when Drow the Underdark and specifically Men's of Barrington came up, did this happen because of R.A. Salvatore novels?
Yep.
Okay, so I got to stop right there, and you're laying the blame on R.A. Salvatore.
Yep.
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, everybody wanted to play Driz. They were bringing out figurines. Everybody wanted to have a Black Panther they slept with too. No, seriously. And the one thing I wanted to add to the game that they put in later, but they shot it down at the time, is I wanted an entire drow house that fought with whip swords.
Oh.
So 30-foot long, really thin, supple blades, just like a saw with a barb on the end where it widens into a proper sword blade just for the tip. And if you normally fight with something else, you don't even know how to carry this thing without tripping over it, let alone use it. But if you train with it, you jump up into the air and you dice everybody, and then you land acrobatically, you barrel roll, and you come up with more enemies around you, and you dice all of those guys, and then you jump again. So you're spending all your time jumping and jackknifing, and just wiping out foes by the score. And they said, Ed, that's way too gross. That's as overbalancing as all of your spells and magic items. And I said, yeah, but I've been publishing my spells and magic items for years now, and I've been getting away with it. Yeah, it stops now. No whip swords.
my little player here, and my kids.
Perhaps it was because I called the first whip sword Maiden's Tongue.
That could have something to do with it.
I thought that was
slightly.
I thought that was too on the nose,
Well, Ed, you did not disappoint. You did not disappoint at all. So, Eric, what do you think about this powering up deal? How did you handle it in Living Greyhawk?
Well, badly. Is the flip answer.
Okay.
I mean, if you're looking solely at third edition, which is what Living Greyhawk was keyed to, every time they put out a new splat book that increased more powers, the power of all the players went, boop, and then another book came out, boop, boop, right. And it just kept going up. We had not instituted the Player's Handbook +1 rule yet, which has been a fantastic godsend to fixing a lot of the power creep, where you can't combine things from 3 different books to make the super powerful, unbalancing character. At least it's harder. So when you're on the design side, what happens is you just kind of have to ignore the
you make shit up.
Yeah, it's just like, well, more giants. I was triad for Jeff, which had giants galore, and to the point where people were like questioning where on earth were all these giants coming from. And I said, well, over the mountains. There's a lot of mountains.
That way. Somewhere.
And I threatened to replace all the giants with rust monsters if they wanted. And they all wanted the giants. But you just keep increasing the challenge that you're throwing at the players. Yeah. And also I've had the help of a lot of really good other designers, like Mark Judson, the Regulators, who designed absolutely atrocious combats that took advantage of a lot of the cheese, because one of the wonders of 3rd edition is that you could use all the player stuff and graft it onto a monster. So you could give Frost Giants levels in Cleric. And we discovered then the rules that if a Cleric was not a associated class with a Giant, you could do 2 levels per 1 boost of the CR. And that was maxed by the creature's hit die. And Giants have a lot of hit dice. So you could get 18th level Cleric Frost Giants with a plus 7 or so to the CR, and the players hated that.
Yeah. So you actually did the design work.
Yeah.
We tried, or everything had a warrior level 1, because the old warrior classes, since they're NPC classes, always increase their CR by their level -1. So a level 1 warrior was no bonus to the CR. So it's just like, yeah, have a free hit die.
Yeah. And we accuse players of min-maxing, and here we have DMs and module designers min-maxing.
Have to. Yeah. I bet what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah. Yep. That's
We found
out. Wait till Hollywood gets involved.
Oh my
God. They just say, we want this to happen. Okay.
Yep.
Eldritch
and then they have to retrofit that back into a rule book.
Bingo. Because it's a free product.
Yep.
So
yeah. Also try to figure out ways to counter their magic. Don't let them buff ahead of time. Eldritch Giants were a godsend, because every round they could at will greater dispel magic. So they point at someone and went pow, and all the magic went off of them, and you could actually hear the whoop, 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 whoop sound as the player came back down to earth.
Yep.
So okay. So the scale up was a real thing you all had to deal with. It wasn't just me complaining, Greyhawk has got it more balanced. It happened because of novels, and it happened because of just circumstance for the most part. Probably not intentionally, but that's just the way it went. And then you throw in the psionicists, right? And Menzo Barons, and I mean, already Salvatore novels talk about an entire house of psionicists, right? Ed's shaking his head here, so I mean, just that throws another whole wrench into things, I'm assuming.
Didn't we eat them?
Yes.
I thought we literally ate them.
Yeah, but back in the day, in the Menzo Barons and doing the box set, they were very much alive and kicking. Okay. And they had to, and you see, the problem with that is, that whole box set is, because I was doing it in a weekend, my bit, Doug Niles and Bob had already done their bit, and I was doing the rest of it in a weekend. I couldn't do what I wanted to do, which was stop and say, okay, I get up in the morning. Do I brush my teeth? If I do, what do I brush them with? I take a dump. Where do I take a dump? How do I take a dump? Breakfast is ready, or do I have to prepare it myself? What is it? How is it eaten? Where is it served? And then build the whole society of how the city works, and where, when everybody takes a dump, where does it go?
I love you, Ed, because that's if there's one thing I would love to write, is the story about fantasy toilets and stuff. These characters do it, because it's never everywhere. Yeah.
I wrote the whole section on chutes, and how they had Archimedes screw pumps to raise the water that washed the poo down the chutes, and the slaves and the monster slaves were troweling it out into the fungi farms, where the fungi that you ate later fed on the poo. Yeah. You see, I had it all worked out.
That and makes then, of course, perfect sense.
Yep. And then, of course, they said, oh, let's just chop all this out of the game. It isn't fighting. Yep. And it was like, how are the player characters supposed to get in and out of these drow fortresses? They follow the poo. And exactly. It's like, yeah, Ed, but no, we don't put that in our products. It's against our code of ethics. Yep. No sex, no genitals, no body parts, and no defecation. Nothing about tears, nothing about blood, nothing about mucus, or anything that comes out of the human body. Mucus. So away it goes. And it was like, and they said, okay, we'll keep it on our servers. We know it's there. It will never make it into a product. But I was trying to make Menzo Branson work as a city. And that's the stuff that got chopped out. Because I didn't have time to argue, and I didn't have time to rewrite. I just had to keep writing. And literally, when I was writing in those days for TSR, it was like extruding plastic. You wrote like hell, and when they got as much as they wanted, they chopped and threw the rest of the plastic in a bin for another product.
Yep.
So that was the easy way to do it when you're writing at top speed. And that's why some of the stuff hit the cutting room floor. But I would really love to redo Menzo as a box set with, here's daily life for a lowly drow child. What do lowly drow children play? When they play, are they allowed to play hide and seek? Do they have dice? Do they have little stackable toys like Fisher Price makes? You know, those rings that go over a tapering thing? What do they have to play with? I want that covered. I want everything covered. Because what's the drow architecture? Well, if you go into a drow house and they have a painting up on the wall, what is it of? Do they have glow gems to provide lights around the thing? It's this stuff I want, because the poor dungeon master has to explain it on the fly. Hey, they have to make it up, and why didn't we put it in the product?
You have a little bit in here about continual fairy fire. See,
yes.
I read. Yes.
I snuck everything in as much as I could.
Yeah,
I had to walk uphill both ways to school too. No,
your Bible addresses that too, Jay.
Yep.
The old
there's great description on Arel High Sinlu in here.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
There's a great, early on description about it and the Fane, and this is it's just it's wonderful
Ultravision.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true too.
And you have if you have the fairy site, there's normal vault, and then there's fairy vault. It's like putting the little goggles on.
Yeah, it was like I discovered that there was a town in Sweden. They used compost and the city left over from the sewage in order and they let it compost, and they used the heat to reheat the buildings and stuff. And they gave me an idea, saying, "Oh, I want the fantasy version of that." So they simply put all the poop and stuff in the basement, and then they have a trapdoor, so when someone comes in, they can just lift it, and you know what happens, so to speak. And they
knocks them out all the time.
Yep. So I had kind of fun, and they wonder the house was nice and warm, and it was wonderful, and it worked really well, and
I have to tell you where the Vault of the Drow came from too.
Oh, please, absolutely.
Please.
Yes.
That actual vault, the Starry Vault.
Yeah.
Somebody on the TSR staff went to Chicago and went to the planetarium.
And it's like, if I was down underground looking up, I'd see all the ceiling.
They sat back in the chairs and they had the dome ceiling with all the stars all over it, and then they projected the stars and moved them through the ages, or what happens if you saw in the southern hemisphere. And they said, "Cool, we're putting this in a product." Because run your own gaming company, you got your own game by the tail. You're like a sponge. New ideas are coming from everywhere. Doesn't matter how hokey they are. I mean, one of the things we were trying to do is stop certain people on the TSR staff from putting in everything they saw at Baraboo whenever they went there, to the Circus World Museum. They'd see all the old floats and the calliopes and this stuff, and they go, "Oh, I got to put this in the game." No, stop.
I don't know, that Vault of the Drow came out so good, though. That was a good planetarium visit.
Yep. So all these cool things.
Question for you.
Sure.
I always got the impression that Aurelie Saint-Loup from the pagoda, its architecture was almost Japanese inspired. There is a pagoda in it.
Yeah. I never thought that way. But it's very possible. But I did not make that connection, Eric. But you could be correct, and I overlooked
Just
it.
one way to take it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the exact.
It is one of the most iconic, and I've been showing it. One of the most iconic pictures is the entrance tower. One of the greatest pictures of all time, showing like the emanation coming from the walls and the ceiling, and I've heard from a lot of people out there. This was a campaign ender if you messed that encounter up. If you went in there just guns ablaze and you're in big trouble. The entire vault's coming out and combating you. So it depends on what you do there as you enter. But just
run like hell.
Yeah, to where? Run back into the corridors. And I always loved. I know Gaetano has done this. I always loved about this that the map is nowhere near complete. Right? You got this whole other map area that you could expand on, and I know, and Gaetano Lefabi, Grindelwald actually mapped it where it lies underneath the mountain ranges, exactly each location, which was brilliant, Gaetano. If you want to link that and you're on, please do that in chat. It's a really cool map. I was just enthralled with this when I was a kid, and it just left an impression on me. And my impression was. And Anna and I always go butt heads on this, and that's okay. Calavra is trying to usurp the authority in the vault by worshiping this elder elemental god and, trying to just take over completely against Loth, who she can't stand for whatever reason. And you could go so many different directions on this. And then it really pained me when Sargent came out with, I is the evil and all the others, and all of a sudden she's worshiping Loth all of a sudden, and I was like, what is this? And that drove me a little nutty, and we've had that discussion 100 times, Anna and I have, and Anna sees it a little bit differently than I do, but...
Well, I just see her as the one that sell herself and her talent to the one that can give her the most influence, so to speak. And,
But I'll say this.
Like an ultimate political consultant in Greyhawk. So
True. Yeah. Eric Boyd last Sunday gave me a new idea. And I'm going to run with it. And I'm going to run with it during our fundraiser. Started off a little bit with the Calavra.
Was the idea in 6 point?
It was brilliant. It's like, wow, Eric, that's awesome. You don't mind if I use it? He's like, no, go ahead. So it was wonderful.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I have a question for Ed. In this regards, this book, if you don't mind, Zin Carla, the spell in here, did that come up before or after it was used in R.A. Salvatore novels?
No, he came up with it. We had to put in an adaptation of it.
Okay.
But yeah, none of that. I didn't make that up. That's one of those words where I went, what?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound drow to me, Zin Carla. Okay.
It sounds Jamaican, doesn't it? A little bit or something like that? It sounds like voodoo. Yeah. Okay. All right. Just had to ask that because I was wondering, chicken or the egg, who
Oh no, that wasn't me. No,
okay.
That was oh boy, here we go. Because that was one of the things I thought, ooh, that's a campaign buster.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, when Zach Nafine is in Carla, the whole thing goes crazy down there. And I'll say this: I read all the books. I did. I was a fan of all the early books, but then later on. Drizzt, if I said it right now, out in the surface world, beyond the first trilogy, Icewind Dale. Is that it? Icewind Dale trilogy was fantastic, but beyond that, I kind of lost a little bit of interest being a Greyhawk person. But
then you'll miss Drizzt Does Dallas. I mean, no.
Absolutely. So,
oh, that's awesome.
This book. So let's talk about this magical drow items. Okay, Tony, what's your favorite, or a couple?
My favorite, well, I mean, there's kind of the standards. There was an item that when we play drow, a lot of times we just made up the items.
That's okay.
You know what I mean? So, there is a little like a figurine of wondrous power, but it's a spider, and cool. It will paralyze people, and you can kind of send it into their, like, when they're sleeping and whatever, and it allows you to magic jar them when you do that.
Oh wow. Now I don't remember that anywhere. Did you make you?
Yeah, we made that one up.
That's wonderful.
It was
a great idea.
Yeah.
So is it a Loth item?
Correct.
Okay. Is it given to Loth's priestesses, or is it a general item
So it was it was a lost item that they had made at one point and either didn't remember or whoever made that, it died. And so there were very few of them. And
I'm writing that
as
down.
players, we kind of had to figure out what it did as we went along. So
that's an awesome item.
Yeah.
So Eric, how about you?
The Mayeratar blade.
You're gonna have to explain that one. That one went right over my Greyhawk head.
Well, it was another one of my things I was exploring with my drow from the Misty Forest Refuge.
Oh, okay.
Of a great sword that was key to dexterity instead of strength, because that plays
Nice.
to the drow strength, and so it instead of doing 2d6 damage, it does 1d10, but it keys your dexterity.
It's a great sword.
Great sword.
Two-handed sword.
Two-handed blade.
Okay. It's not a bastard sword. It's more of like it's a two-handed sword, or is it a 1.5 in old school?
Sword.
Oh, two-handed. Okay. Oh, wow.
Two-handed. But so it's a very minimal change, because whenever I start making rule changes like this, I like to keep them as small as possible, because it hasn't been play tested extensively like the ones in the book, hopefully. So it's just a small, a one step down reduction in damage, but you can use your dexterity. And I thought that'd be really cool for the paladins of Illustrated to use.
Is that in the publication you gave to everyone, or is that
that's in something I'm cooking up with Tony.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It's one of our little bits where we were going to do a much more exhaustive deep dive on a Illustrated settlement in the Underdark.
So are we talking about a future publication here?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Once we get done with the Moonshays, which is within sight.
That's awesome.
For you.
Another 3 months will be done, but we wanted to.
So he thinks.
Damn, Ed knows us too well.
You're going to be done.
We wanted to do a haven in the Underdark that has a cell full of Illustrated worshippers that DMs could use as like a little bolt hole safety place for players to go to while they're trying to explore the Underdark. And so it's built in the ruins of Arindlin.
But it could be placed in a Greyhawk setting easily, because it's Underdark.
Especially with like I was actually thinking the one that was underneath the Pomage, where House Vi is from. Is supposedly a lost city. I think that could easily glom onto just do this right over top of it, because that city is lost, and that's about all the details I know about it.
What's your estimated date of release, roughly? Just so we can tell everyone that they can be ready to purchase that immediately.
A year.
Oh,
we just started talking.
It does stuff in a weekend. Come on.
I know.
No, it doesn't do it anymore.
So every single TSR person who comes on this show, Skip Williams said, "Oh, well, the entire world map, they had me do that in a weekend." And I'm like, "Well,
yeah,
no wonder."
They always keep saying that, and
I was like, "Oh my gosh, everything's Jim Ward's book, 3 months. That entire Greyhawk Adventures book. I mean,
most of the artists had to do 2 paintings a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they came up with which is why if you look closely, some of Jeff Easley's iconic covers for the 2nd edition books, they're beautifully painted in the center, and then they just airbrush out to the edges, because he had to do them in a heck of a hurry.
Yeah.
And they actually came up with an artist name called Jack Fred. If they were so disgusted with a piece of art because they had to kick it out the door, they didn't want their name on it, they put Jack Fred's name on it. And they actually snuck Jack Fred onto the payroll. And that's how, after Lorraine nixed the Gen Con staff parties, that's how they paid for the keg of beer at the staff party. Jack Fred paid for it.
His paycheck.
And they stopped using Jack Fred when Jack Fred started winning art awards over them.
Wow.
That's awesome. awesome.
That's a great
Oh,
story.
there you go.
Story. Yep.
Do you got a favorite magic item, Ed?
Sure. Okay, this is not published to hit the cutting room floor.
Oh, good.
This is a drow gem, much used by the followers of Illustri.
Okay.
It's called a Luyara, and it's a black gem, oval cabochon. You swallow it. And as it works its way through your body, it heals you. If you don't get wounded during that time, it will blow you up from inside because it's pumping health and vitality into you, and your body can't expand that far. You'll do the fat man thing in Dune and then blow up. Okay? But the reason you take one of these gems and swallow it before battle is because you're going to do a Deadpool. You're going to walk into the heart of 500 orcs or 40 warriors, and you're going to fight them. So you have this gorgeous drow lady with a sword. 70 guys assault her, and she just is standing in the middle of them, hacking, and she's taking swords through her from all sides, and she's screaming in pain and gasping and moaning in pain, and she keeps going because the gem inside her is keeping her from dying. She's still in agony. She's still feeling the pain, but she can stay on her feet and keep fighting. So she just hacks her way through you, again, like Deadpool. You know, when I started seeing Ryan Reynolds do the Deadpool movies, I said, holy crap, here's somebody actually bringing to the screen what I had. And of course, TSR nixed that because the one thing they did not want, lawsuits, kids trying it at home, for the same reason they didn't want holy symbols, because they didn't want kids chalking them on walls and the bad PR. They didn't want some kids thinking, I'm going to swallow this jube, think I've got this magical gem, and then go ahead, run your sword through me. I'll be fine. Run mom's carving knife through me. I'll just be fine. They didn't want that to ever happen, so they just sort of, no, we won't publish that.
So did, I'm sorry, Arna Larace, did she have one of those at one point?
Of course. She has a whole bunch of them. She has them in a little belt. She wears one of those little around your hips girdles. And it looks like it's little gold gilded oval lozenges, and each one of them opens up like a locket, and each one of them has one of these inside, because she might have to fight her way out of, I don't know, maybe she's in the dungeons of Castle Waterdeep, and she figures they've got maybe 300-400 guards. I'm going to have to carve each one of them up, and some of them are going to be facing me down a corridor, and they're just going to empty their crossbows through me, and I just have to keep going so I can come up and say, hi, fellas. Cut them down and walk out.
Could you spell that for us? What that item? Because I know everyone's writing down. Everyone's like,
okay. The gem is Looyara, but it's pronounced Luyara.
Luyara. Okay. And that is not in a publication anywhere, which is really cool.
But you can all use it. This little black gem, you swallow it, you blow up if you don't take any damage. So you could have a desperate drow stumbling in and saying, here, run me through with the sword. No, I'm not going to. Please, come on, you got to do it right now, because they know they're going to blow up. But you use it for his last stands.
Okay.
Or if you want to run the gauntlet. You want to carve your way through like 40 guys? You carve your way through 40 guys, and you just hope the gem lasts long enough.
It does. I'm saying, like, regenerates 5 hit points per round or something like that.
Yeah,
and it goes above your turtle, obviously, for the blow-up purposes.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, but it might not keep up.
Right, but still.
But once it's inside you, it's chemical. So casting a spell on you isn't going to stop it.
It's non-magical.
Yeah, once it's inside you, and its magic has been unleashed, it's a chemical reaction. It's in the bloodstream, and it's working its way through your gut.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, love to hear something that was on the cutting floor. So, Anna, do you have one?
Well, since when I ran my Underdark campaign, I fell in love with these little handy, nifty, small hand crossbows with nifty poison in them that can render them, all the PCs helpless. So that was, I must say, as a DM, I fell in love with it because I've rarely used poison before that, and so my players weren't really ready for it, and so when I started using it, that was kind of that really did it, so to speak. So
Drow poison goes all the way back to this.
Yep.
And something that really you can take out an entire party with paralyzations, and then that's it. And you're enslaved or what, So absolutely.
And what they cutting room floored of that was the poison that made you dance like a spider.
Oh,
really?
One limit at a time, randomly. So you'd be doing this, so you couldn't keep your balance on anything.
Yeah.
And you had a real fun time in a fight because you're ready in your stance. Okay, I'm gonna, and then
Nice.
And they said, that's gross. That's unfair. No, we're not doing that. It's undignified. It's like, undignified?
Yeah.
People are losing their clothes in fireballs, and you're talking about undignified?
Ed, we're going to put this in another perspective. So some of the items I love. Think about this. The Wand of Vista globs, you can rip yourself apart because you're stuck, right? So think about that, and that's an original Drow magic item. That's pretty gross when you think about it. That alone.
His joints failed messily, unquote.
Yeah, that one's bad. And one of my favorite of all time is the Death Lance, which appears in D3, and it's a spear. It's just it's +1 spear, but it can drain levels and on a critical hit, and it's one of the most prized Drow captured possessions in my campaign. Just a wonderful item. And early on, I noticed in here you incorporated some in this book. There's a lot of incorporations of El Royal High Sinlu and the Vault of the Drow. You have all the houses from Vault of the Drow symbols in here. I noticed that, and you have some items that are like the Fire Elemental gem. They're from D3, so you did do some incorporation of Greyhawk into this book.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to. That was supposed to be
setting neutral.
Setting neutral,
okay.
As in it was set in the realms, but it was supposed to encompass everything. Because remember, that was the era where Greyhawk isn't being published because Gary has left, and we do not publish Greyhawk. Realms is now the official setting. So, but that doesn't mean I, as a gamer, turn my back on Greyhawk. It means I bring it into the fold.
Okay. And it works because. Eric, Tony, if you are using something to this, I'm using this to this day, so it works. It's a fantastic book. I never played 3E, so I'm still 1E, 2E, and I know I'm weird, but you guys, it's
you're enjoying it.
Yeah, and you're enjoying it too, right? And Anna's enjoying it too when she plays.
Oh,
so it's
great. Yeah.
We're having.
I don't enjoy your crit system.
You don't like crits?
No, it's kind of.
Your crit system is too mean for me. Wow.
Yes, but remember, usually the viewers will all set that with cheers, right? And then you can undo your crits for the most part.
They're feeding you crits.
So it's a fun little way of.
Yep.
Look, Casey just said in chat, even I enjoy it. And Casey is the ultimate min-maxer from the Living Greyhawk era. He min-maxes his characters in my game so much he wants to make my head explode. So there you go.
It does restore some of the terror of the earlier editions.
Yeah, there's
that we really don't have in 5th edition, where there's not the terror anymore.
You gotta have terror. You gotta.
Second, it's like I'm gonna die.
Everybody stands up and starts going. You're doing good. Everybody's like, okay. They like lube.
No. Terror happens when the dungeon master says, "Did you really want to do that?"
Yep. Are you sure? Yep.
Are you sure? Yes.
Yep.
And then you have, I gotta have the special no, just no emote from, the argument times, and just no. That's what the DM's got to say sometimes. But I mean, we all.
No, you don't say it like that. You go, no.
Yes, Frank. Or you can certainly try. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So, Drow have a lot of enemies in the Underdark. Croatoans, Illithids, Abolus, the Srifnebli, Darrow. You guys have any favorites you like to deal with or utilize in your campaigns, or that you kind of have a soft spot for?
Deep dragons.
Deep dragons, okay.
Oh, yes.
That's why I created them.
Okay.
Deep dragons. And my favorite deep dragon has a ring of death. Death tyrants. Undead beholders that it controls. So it sends them to do the fighting. And it plays mop-up. It waits and plays mop-up.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Wow. And is that near Menzoberranzan? Do you have a deep dragon near?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Awesome.
There's a deep dragon beneath Menzo, because you see, a lot of these houses, they have storage vaults where they put all their gems and stuff, and the deep dragon just goes in from underneath, bypassing all the guards, takes what it wants, leaves what it wants, and departs again.
So deep dragon against versus the Dracolich, much nastier.
No, Dracolich. Depending on, it depends on the condition of the Dracolich and
true
what it was set up as.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of those creations where after I did it, they took me for drinks. They said, "Oh, Ed, we're gonna make so many minis of this. You are gonna kill so many gamers." And I said, "That's not what I meant." Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Tony, what about you? You got a nice drow nemesis you love, or one of those other Underdark creatures?
I stole it. I love dragons.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
I have a special fondness for deep dragons. And I mean, Dracoliches are down there too, but deep dragons are way awesome.
Excellent. I know I've never used the deep dragon, so now you got me. There's no reason why I couldn't use one in Greyhawk, right? So now you got me.
Oh, no reason at all. But if you're going to run a dragon, read the description. Figure out what tactics your particular deep dragon would set up beforehand.
Okay.
What traps, because it doesn't want to just go into fighting. It wants to have traps. It wants to have minions. It wants to find out who's coming towards it and wear them down first, and possibly separate them from their magic items and good stuff before they wear it out fighting the deep dragon. It wants to just remove stuff and then run the lair so that the lair is the opponent long before they get to the dragon. And then when they're all down to like 4 hit points or 2 hit points, and then they see there's a dragon waiting at the end and say, "Oh shit." Then you've run the dragon properly. And they go, "Let's turn and run, fellas." And you go, "Yep, the dragon will be waiting for next time."
The wear down factor. Absolutely. Eric, how about you? Got a creature? You Coatoan based or Mind Flayers or?
Darn. They're not a Greyhawk thing, but they are fearsome rivals of the Drow in a metaphysical sense with the Sharn.
Okay.
They're but they if I had to go to Greyhawk, I would probably go with Illithids.
Yeah. I think they're underplayed. I think Illithids really should deserve a little more love as far as how powerful they should be. But then again,
and a secret weapon. Nobody ever thinks of this. Yochlals.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
That are sent in and are pissed off, and they're just going through the Drow like sheep to get at somebody they need to take and question. And they just butcher their way through.
The Yochlal is a really, really disturbing demon, because it looks like a drow or human female, very comely, and then all of a sudden it turns into this hideous monster with tentacles and
looks like a mop.
Yeah, it does. It looks true, but it is pretty nefarious. Doesn't a Yochlal take Wolfgar in one of the Ari Salvatore novels? Am I remembering this correctly?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I always put them down as more melted candle than mop, but either way works.
You haven't seen my mop.
Oh well.
So, Anna, how about you on as far as nemesis to the Drow?
Yeah, it's awesome to hear dragons, because dragons, I just love dragons. So it's good to hear that someone is equally obsessed about dragons. But when it comes to the Underdark, I've read about the Deep Dragon, but I haven't really gotten to use it yet. I haven't found it, like you said, Ed, you need to find the right way to introduce them. So I've never been in the Underdark.
Find the right victim.
Okay. But I have one monster that I love among the menagerie of the Underdark that is kind of one of the staples, I think, in the Underdark. And it's the Umber Hulk, one of these that actually creates the Underdark. And I love it because it's both a functional monster, meaning he has a function there to dig out the hole, so to speak. So it actually kind of maintains the Underdark in a way, but also because it has some unique features with the confusing gaze and stuff. And there's also some awesome illustrations and stuff. So the Umber Hulk is one of my favorite when it comes to the Underdark.
And the Zorn.
Oh yeah, the Zorn is
if you don't want a tunnel, but you just want to have this stony claw reach up out of the solid cavern wall and yank the player character against the wall so they're pinioned.
Yep.
Zorn are super cool.
Yep.
I love all demon sorts. I just love all the types. 3, 4, 5s. I know they're called Baylors and
demons are
I love demons.
But you can run demons anywhere, so to speak.
Yeah, true that.
You don't need to be the Underdark. You can just well, you old school, so they are good enough. So you need to come to level minus, or like, what is it, Daniel, level 16 or something, then you can get a big one. So yeah. But you see, I don't run old school, so my demons
can meet them anywhere.
Yes.
So, Ed, I just had a picture up of Elminster with his dark elven wife. I'm going to tell that story real quick.
Wife?
Yeah, it says in here, my wife, Elminster.
Well, yes.
It says it in this book.
All right, talk your way out of this one,
Elminster. Awesome. That was because a TSR editor said, you can't call her lover. I said, why not? And he said, because she's also his apprentice. It's a teacher-student relationship.
Oh my gosh!
He's exploiting her. And I said, oh, for God's sake. Because, yes, of course, real-world considerations. But, yes, so that was in the era where Elminster married about 18 different females. I was going to say woman, but of different races down the years. Not all at the same time, of course, because that would make him big game.
Oh my gosh, Ed.
We don't want any more big game hunters.
Wow.
When you've been alive for thousands of years, you literally outlive many of your wives, not the drow. So there is a complete story for her, and I can't relate most of it because it's NDA, because they asked me to write her all up, and I did, and they asked me to write a novella, so I did, and then they sat on it and said, we can't publish this, the themes are too adult.
All right.
And I said, oh, for goodness sake, there's no sex. Yes, but there's moral choices. And I said, yeah. And they said, moral choices are for adults. No, moral choices are for all of us. That's what our life is made of. Moral choices. And that's what the game should teach people. Moral choices. And they said, well, we're not ready for that yet.
But Ed, you can tell us on stream what level wizard she is or magic user she is, can't you? Is she multi-class?
Yes. Well, at the time you saw her in the pool,
she
was a 16th level magic user.
Wow.
And a 6th level sorceress.
Okay.
Naturally, untrained. And she had some psionics, but totally untrained. And what Elminster was trying to do was tame her psionics enough that they'd stop screwing up her spellcasting. In other words, show her how to turn the psionics off. Okay. And then show her how to use it just as a shell, a defensive shell, if she didn't want to use any magic, but she wanted to get away from something, without killing them. And then later on, after leaving Elminster and having her own career through the plains, she got to at least 19th level when the last thing I wrote about her. But that was like going back 30 years. So
that's okay. I mean, if someone...
I'm older than dirt.
Wow. So some things made the cutting. Like you have marriage and family life in this book. You do.
Yeah.
You do have that in here. So.
Yeah, but
So
you see, they had the weirdest times. Like, for instance, I had a dragon article killed once because I was talking about King Arthur, and I said in some versions of the legend of King Arthur, the Round Table broke up because Lancelot and Guinevere became lovers, and there was warfare over that. And they said, oh, you can't talk about that because at the time Guinevere was married to Arthur, so that would be sex out of wedlock, so you can't talk about it. I said, I'm just reporting a legend, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
But they said, oh no, that's against our code of ethics. So it went up and down. The way it was applied was, it's like everything else. If you look at the art of the time, there were times when particularly Clyde's stuff got very risque, the art. And there were other times when everything was straight-laced. And it went back and forth like a pendulum.
Yeah.
Same with the writing and the editing and the censorship. Depending on what was going on or what market they were trying to get into. If you're trying to get D&D into the Southern Bible Belt, into chains of bookstores, you do not want half-naked babes on the cover. If you are trying to sell it in truck stops, up in the New York area, you do want half-naked babes on the cover.
Yeah. True.
But as we are getting into the modern world where people can look in catalogs and even now gasp online, you can't hide the one from the other. In the old days when I was a kid, a politician could go to this audience and tell that lie, and then he could go to this audience the next night and tell this other lie, and there'd be no cross-pollination and he could be safe. Not anymore. So there were things that, and they always erred on the side of caution, particularly if the editor was new to the job. They were being very careful.
Okay. Well, it explains a lot. It explains a lot of like why, back in the day. So
yeah,
I'll
be right back. I just have to attend to an emergency.
That's no problem.
Actually leads into a Living Greyhawk story.
Yes.
Jay, or do you want to take a break?
Let's do it. All right. So, how you want to go another half hour and then we call it a night? Is everyone okay with that? Because I know we're running a little late. You okay? I don't want to keep anyone away from I always want to give everyone the courtesy of hey.
It's
I don't want to
fine. If we're gonna go though, if we're gonna continue, I need to put my broken leg up because it's.
You can hang out all you.
Oh wow! You have
you fell on the steps or something.
I did.
First off,
be at home now, not take any risks or do.
I was at home.
So first thing, Tony has bad luck. First, you had crap all in your basement or something. I saw on the one post, and then you had a pipe backup, and then you fell on the steps. I mean,
her house is trying to kill her.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, I would move if I were you.
Yeah, please watch. You want to do this? You want to do this on this? This is a very impromptu Gabbin. You want to hang out like this? Please do. Look, I got shorts on, and it's the middle of the winter here, so I'm Charlie Sheening it, so we're good.
Well, when I was in the ER, they were like, "Hey, did somebody push you down the stairs?" I'm like, no, unless it's a ghost, because it's only me and my daughter.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, hey, we all have disasters happen in our life. I'm really sorry about that, but it sounds like you're persevering pretty well, and that's good to hear. So, yep. So, you want to tell that story, Eric, or do you want to hit the restroom real quick? Yeah, let's do this. So we're gonna go for a while, guys. So let's have fun with this, and then whenever everyone's got to go, so be it. Because let's keep this rocking and rolling. I'm having a wonderful time. Thank you, Ed, Tony, and Eric for hanging with Anna and me on a wonderful, wonderful Gabbin. Yeah. And more and more people are hopping in as we're going too, and they're having fun with this discussion. Yeah, and please note if you weren't on earlier. Eric is giving away a very great publication, and just whisper me. It's in a Dropbox, and I will get it to you. All right, and it's scrolling through. It's called Misty Forest Sanctuary. That's in addition to the 2 giveaways we're having tonight. Everyone's welcome to that download. All right, Eric, tell us Living Greyhawk story.
I've been told that it's canonical in the realms.
Okay,
it is canonical in the realms.
That is awesome.
Because if he says it's true. It's how it works.
But it can be utilized in Greyhawk in a way too. It always can be, it can be utilized.
Absolutely. I think that would work really well in the dim forest.
Oh, cool.
Would be my place where I would put it, especially because there's instances in Greyhawk canon of drow all through the barrier peaks, with the mage of the valley having his right-hand drow who wears sunglasses while sunbathing. One of my favorite drow in the Greyhawk. But the story was tying into what Ed was talking about, where the pendulum and how things can loosen and change. We experienced that in Living Greyhawk, because when I came on as the triad for Grand Duchy of Jeff, which was overrun by giants, we were like, oh, good, giants. Well, obviously we know who's behind the giants. We played Queen of the Spiders in the G series, and they said, and the campaign admin said, no drow, 0 drow in your campaign. We were like, what? They said, we're saving them. Oh, all right. So we went and we made up a group of storm giants that were the actual leaders behind all of our giants, because we weren't allowed to use drow. And then we found that the drow started popping up the first time in a meta regional that was set in Starich, where they ruined somebody's birthday party. And we were like, we didn't use drow for that? What's going on? And the answer is people change, like the personnel change. And the person who wanted to keep the drow for a future plot moved on to other things. So suddenly the drow were wide open. Unfortunately, it was too late for us, because we had already...
Oh, that's an image.
Our plan had already been committed. We were 3 years in, and we couldn't just change it to drow then. So it was like, storm giants or bust. We're going all the way.
But the great thing is now you have the Fae that you wouldn't have had, though, developed, right? You wouldn't have had that whole thing developed if you went drow, though. So kind of
that's
cool.
A good point.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone so far down in the fairy holes.
Yeah. And I like the Chelf name that you came up with for the realm that the giants had taken.
Yeah, I mean, some great things came from the thought process of going outside the box from Dark Elves, and that's a good thing, definitely.
It was fun to have the storm giants had captured a Fae queen and were holding her prisoner in order to make all the goblins serve them, and the party had to go freer. That was the fun part. And then the Fae were just meddling in everything in Jeff. So yeah, with close the door, open a window. Also, we could use them later, and I totally wanted to use them in the core region of Wild Coast and the domain of Greyhawk later on. And we were moving towards that when they decided to shift from 3rd to 4th and wrap up the Living Greyhawk campaign. So we had just enough time to wreak havoc on the City Council of Greyhawk before as we wrapped up that campaign. Never did get to the drow, though.
You never did get to the drow. Well,
I wanted to do them right, and you have to set them up.
I will satisfy your drow urge in the Barrier Geeks. How's that sound coming up? I'll do something. So I got some cool ideas upcoming.
I look forward to failing many poison saves.
Absolutely. So, Tony, do you miss not dealing in that Living Greyhawk era now at all with the way Eric talks about it, or just you're so glad you just sat on those sidelines and just were an observer for the most part?
Oh, I mean, I did a bunch of stuff, but not triad work, like I said. And the reason my husband used to joke about it is because he was campaign administrator for Living City. So he was like, I know how much work that is, and I will never see you if you do that.
Full-time job, almost.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, all right, it's fine. So I did a bunch of other stuff. He is making me totally miss that stuff because I love Greyhawk. And actually, some friends of mine, we have started we constituted our old Living Greyhawk characters and have been kind of playing a home game.
Nice.
Awesome. Like maybe once a month. It started with the pandemic, and we just play on Zoom, and it's actually pretty fun. Except everybody has kind of been away from it, so especially like at first, everybody's like, "I forgot I could do that." Like, what am I doing? Oh, dang it! I could have saved you, or what?
I think we have a possible convert here to the Barrier Geeks, Eric.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we do.
Yep.
Into the world of Greyhawk.
The true Barrier Geek.
The true Barrier Geek. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
That Doug Niles' City of Greyhawk box set he did is fantastic.
Top one. Free City Greyhawk box set, #1 publication TSR ever put out. Period. Sorry, Ed. That's just my opinion.
I beg to differ.
Yeah.
No, the #1 publication is the D&D Rules Cyclopedia that Steve Shen put together.
Okay.
A hardcover, because he crammed an entire game and all the nuances into one hardcover book.
That's true.
If you're marooned on a desert island and you can't assemble at the library, I mean, for me, I would say, for me, it's the 3rd edition Realms campaign setting, plus Volo's Guides, plus Forgotten Realms Adventures, plus Ed Greenwood presents Elves to Guide the Water. But if you can only have one, the D&D Rules Cyclopedia is the best bang for your buck.
Sure.
The City of Greyhawk is the most fun.
Okay.
But I remember reading it and saying, "This is great, Doug. You left the sewers out."
Yeah.
He had sewers.
Well, yeah, but you see, he didn't have the full detail of how you can get through them and where the lock gates are and so on. And he said, "Ed, let me take you drinking. We'll talk about word counts sometime."
I got a bizarre question from. He has to bust my balls or ask a bizarre question once a show, and that's Josh Pop, Zarathon. Was Volo named after Volo Bog off Route 12? I don't have any idea.
Of course he was.
Yes, there you go, Josh.
Now, I did not name him. Jeff Grubb named him.
Okay.
I gave Volo his full name of Volothamp Gedarm. But I did know about the Volo Bog because my wife and I, after the Gen Con, moved away from Milwaukee, and we were just going to the TSR offices. We would go off on Rand Road to save $16 worth of tolls, and we would drive up through Nippersink and Richmond and sneak into Lake Geneva that way. And so we drove past the Volo Bog many a time. And when Jeff said, "I need a guide character, and he can't be Elminster because Elminster knows too much. He needs to be a klutz. He needs to be a guy who gets thrown out of places," which became our godsend. Because when they told me I had to do a Volo's guide to too large an area with like 40 cities in it, that's like saying, so I'm going to be doing a guide to the United States of America that's like an AAA triptych.
Right.
You know, because I'd have to. Chicago gets one paragraph. New York gets one paragraph because that's all I got room for. Well, Volo could be thrown out of a place and therefore not be allowed to cover it. So that was the godsend. But yeah, it was named after the Volo Bog by Jeff, and I was presented with and said, "Write Volo and make him different from Elminster." So I made him everybody's scamp, and then I kept him alive by making him an unwitting weave anchor for Mistra. So she was his guardian angel, even though he didn't know it. And therefore, that's why he's still alive.
Okay. Excellent.
Because he should have been killed years ago, just by anyone of good taste.
Ed, I missed a good question from Bubarius. Can you tell us more about the Drow City under the Shadowdale area? Do they still have the Elven Warblade?
That city is completely mapped and goes down and down and down. And has an Aboleth-ruled lake. And for that reason and a lot of other reasons, that particular Drow city no longer has most of its stuff.
Okay.
Because they pissed off enough people that an expedition went down there and cleansed the city out twice. And the second time, a rival city decided to wait for all the people fleeing and just butcher them. So that whole area has changed politically. And the dwarves said, and you're never coming back there. And saw to it.
Okay. Excellent to know that there's a good, it was a very good question. All right. So What do you want out of your Dark Elves in the future? And now I know what Eric's going to say. What he's working for. But what are you looking? What would you like to see? Maybe from Ed, or from whoever, or from Watsy, or whatever you're doing. We'll start with Eric and we'll go clockwise. How's that sound?
I always getting known because I'm the first stop.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and mention what the thing I'm plotting with Tony some more, which is,
please do.
I was lucky enough to work with Brian James on the Menzo Berenzon City of Intrigue, which means I got to work with all the wonderful stuff Ed had put together, and then only be able to use about 10% of it because word counts.
Fire hose.
I would love to explore some of the other Drow cities in the realms besides Menzo Berenzon. Menzo Berenzon is one way a Drow city can be formed. Erinle Sinlu is another one, and it fascinates me. But I would what would be even more interesting is to see other ways. Shed Dasad with its giant iron webbing that has now been destroyed, which is like watching one of the 7 wonders of the world completely collapse on you. I was like, oh, they're so evil and so beautiful, and it hurts. That is kind of the reason why I wanted to go back to Arindlin and make that the hidden haven of the Illustrians, because that way I could explore what Arindlin would look like and how it could be coming back. But with all of the different Drow cities, both in the Forgotten Realms and in Greyhawk, I believe I could not confirm it, but for whatever reason, I remember there being 8 Drow cities in Greyhawk, according to canon, but I couldn't confirm it because there were 8. Because 8 is a cursed number. There are 8 houses in Erinle Sinlu, 8 cities under Orc. But I would love to see different versions of the houses, so you can see different way that the Dark Elves live, whether or not it's all underneath of Lolth, or if Anne makes her Gratz themed city, or I go with my Fraser Blue themed city, which would have had a rough row for a while whenever he was imprisoned under Castle Greyhawk, but now so they might barely be holding on, and only now just getting all of their demonic patronage back, and how many of them have drifted away to other gods and or demons, and how is Fraser Blue going to remove all the competition? So that was what I'd like to see, is different different cities of the elves, of the Drow.
Awesome.
That'd be fascinating.
Tony, what would you like to see?
Well, I'm working on that project with Eric, so
that's okay.
that's one of them, because I feel like that would be. There's a lot of there's so much that's untouched down there, and it can be such kind of a open sort of a. Anywhere can be. It can be such an open playground that it kind of just lets you do whatever you want to do. So, I dig lore, and I dig story and background, and I can do both halves. I can power game with the best of them, and I can do the other end. And so I enjoy kind of fleshing out things that do both. And so it depends on my mood, honestly. But like I said, there's so much down there that you can do that.
Unbelievable amount, right?
Yeah.
Stuff we haven't even touched. We haven't even touched Driders tonight. We haven't talked about Driders yet. No, it's so much content, which is so awesome.
Just easy Drider.
Yeah. So Ed, before we get to you on that question, who created the Drider? Was it Gary?
I don't know if it was Gary or Len.
Len, really? Len Lakofka?
Yeah, it might be. But it was of the original group.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they were there when I became a D&D aficionado. They were already there.
Okay. It's a brilliant idea. Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
When I first saw them in Q1, I was like, wow, this is really, you really don't want to fail lost tests. Oh, and I think it got expanded a lot personality-wise got expanded to the Drider in the R.A. Salvatore novels. I know one of the brothers got the one brother of what's her name, Brizza, got turned into one, and but they were always scary to me because they're outcasts and they really are vengeful against Drow for the most part. It was just a brilliant idea. And it's always a good thing you can throw against another, even not in the Underdark. They've come up the surface world or hidden in a cave somewhere. Just a neat adversary, really was. So, okay. So Ed, what do you think about Greyhawk, or not Greyhawk? About what do you want to see? What do you want to see upcoming?
Well, I want to echo what's been said already.
Okay.
As we move into the bright new era of D&D, my 5th bright new era of D&D, and we're now taking off level restrictions and alignment restrictions on all sorts of non-human races, Drow included. We sort of have to see other ways that Drow can live, and as Eric was saying, other cities. Than we saw with Lolth. I mean, as fun as that was to have this sort of Borgia's matriarch, nasty, everybody ruling in fear, and Lolth doing her thing, and wands of tentacles and all the rest of it. We already know from looking at Illustri and so on that there are other ways to live.
Okay.
If you're a Drow, and we need to see what some of those other lifestyles are, what they do. I mean, are there such things as Drow fungi farmers who wear straw hats and smoke corncob pipes and spend their days stroking the fungi and murmuring little ditties to them so they'll grow faster? I don't know, but we'll never know if we don't look.
Yeah,
I'm doing that now.
Yeah, go do it.
We're putting that in the thing, Eric. Okay.
Yeah, Drow druids. Yeah.
Yes. I can't get that now, but we'll tell you how to get to Blingenstone.
You could go that way, or you could go that way.
Yeah.
I remember when Blingenstone was barely a pebble.
Nice.
So one of our good viewers and community members, Rob Phantom, he just said that David Sutherland. Wait a minute. I got that right? David Sutherland created the Drider from a Gary Gygax's post on the End World, stated that he was the creator.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was of the original crew. Dave is no longer with us, I'm afraid. But he was one of the original artists, and he made himself their first cartographer.
Okay.
As the level of quality of art kept going back, he says, "I'm out. People can draw better than I can." So he made himself the cartographer.
Okay. So did he do the cartography, for example, in the Vault of the Drow? Is that his?
Mm-hmm. Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's staff and uncredited,
and hexagonal, the hexagonal maps.
Even if Dave didn't draw it, Dave was in charge of the department at that time, so
okay,
he had his hand on everything, because the way you get things to print with the minimum of screw ups is everybody edits everybody else, and everybody goes through an approvals process and checks things. And thank goodness that was in the old days of when you laid things out with an X-Acto knife and a waxer, not in the later days where you could do global search and replace and screw up a product with one keystroke.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're talking from experience.
No, not me personally, but yeah, there is a TSR product where they decided to change the word mage to the word wizard throughout the product.
I remember that.
And they did a global search and replace without realizing if you don't limit it to that specific word, when you roll dice, you do damage. So throughout the book, it says the wizard. Roll a dice for 3 to wizard.
Oh my gosh.
So the first printing of that faux leather bound book has the wizard throughout. Because if you're doing everything in one day or one afternoon and nobody has time to check everybody else.
Is that the spell compendiums?
Yep.
I'm gonna go.
Oh yeah.
I think
I don't know that I ever noticed.
You have to have a first printing of just one of the volumes, and they changed damage to the wizard throughout.
That is awesome.
But this the product to which Jay is referring is in the old school era where eyeballs actually rolled over everything. So if Dave didn't actually draw that, Dave checked on it and corrected it and made sure the labels are in the right place, because the labels had to go on with wax and an X-Acto knife blade.
Yeah.
My gosh. And now
which is the way I still don't.
Well, everyone thinks I'm crazy because I have 60 or 70 notebooks with all my modules and adventures I write in them. You know, that's the way I to this day write with everything. You know, just.
Brian
and when
James.
the power failure hits,
yes,
and those old Commodore
ready.
64s and the 8-inch floppy disk can't be read by anything, you still have your books.
That's right. I won't be able to stream it, but I'll have my books still, right? So, yes.
Brian James told me, Ed, that the original map for Mensa Berenson was drawn on a bed sheet.
It was. Okay. On a poplin bedspread in the room next door to me now, on 17 by 35 sheets of paper with a Staedtler drawing pen, and Staedtler would sell you these little templates of green see-through plastic with holes of different sizes, circles. So you could just trace inside the circle and actually get a decent freehand circle.
Was it on this? Was it you actually drew on the bed sheet, or was it just pieces of paper on the bed sheet?
It was pieces of paper on the bed sheet, but they went through and ruined the bed sheet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's because the Staedtler would go on bleeding because it was proper Pelican ink rather than a marker. I then, you see, I couldn't use Pilot markers or any of those felt tips, because if you go on using them, the felt tip gets thicker and thicker and thicker as it wears down, and your quality of art goes down, and it's noticeable, particularly when you're drawing 4,000 stalagmites in an afternoon. Yeah. Oh yeah. Everything was old school. And when I had to do Forgotten Realms Adventures, I had to put something like 28 city maps and do it in a weekend. So I was hand drawing with a Staedtler pen, these tiny little black squares. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to get through this in a weekend. This is a month's worth. So I started photocopying my city blocks, rotating them, photocopying them, taping them down with magic mending tape to the page, and then drawing them so they wouldn't look like repeated things, just to get the bulk of the cities done in time. Because you cut all these corners, because you have to do this product that will become, quote, a classic, and will be referred to by people a generation later to do their own product from. You have to produce it in an afternoon. Brilliant! It was absolutely brilliant creative process, I tell you.
Yes, and the way companies ran back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Because I love that Forgotten Realms Adventures book.
Hey, I have killed myself doing it, and it looks so beautiful with all the Steve Fabian illustrations.
That's awesome.
Yes. We need some of those. We need some of those for Greyhawk, Jay. Make it happen.
Well, hey. Well, I started with one. Carlos has got a bunch. We're getting there. The community is really resurgent. So I'll talk about a little bit right at the end and shout outs here. What's going on in the next 2 months is huge. We got a ton of content going.
Ooh.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Wonderful. So Anna, what would you like to see for Dark Elves?
Well, you said so many awesome examples, so I'm going to go away from the RPG products, because something I think that the time is ready for. I want to see an Underdark or Drow fantasy TV series.
Oh.
Because now you can actually do it justice, I think. Now the technology and stuff is there to create it. I would love to see that. I'm seeing enough swords and Vikings and stuff from regular stuff. So yeah.
Let me tell you an untold story of the realms.
Okay.
There was a company called Fireworks TV. Now doesn't exist anymore. It was then owned by Global Television up in Canada. And they wanted to do a Forgotten Realms TV series. So their publicity lady sat us down, us being Bob and Diane Salvatore, me and Jen, my wife, and bought us dinner and pitched the Drow TV series, which was going to be an endless cavern. They could shoot it really cheap because they could like paper mache and do 1 or 2 caverns and just reuse them from different angles. And the whole thing was going to be the Borgias underground. Everybody knifing everybody else. Everybody doing Shakespearean soliloquies where they muzzle right up to the camera and they go, So, my lord, are you with us or against us? And if you say against you, the dagger goes in, the hand goes over the mouth, and the body gets rolled aside. He says, next! You know.
Wow.
And it never got made because fireworks got sold. So it was one of the they do these things in Hollywood and other places. If you don't have the right showrunner and so on, the next person in kills a bunch of products to put their own stamp on the studio, and it was one of a bunch that got killed. But that was going to be the Drow TV miniseries. So I'm so glad it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So we can now have a proper one.
Yeah, because now I think that the time has come that fantasy content can get a real good, thorough look at, both budget-wise and editing and story-wise and all that. It can be taken seriously enough, so to speak. And also, there's now enough CG and all the computer wizardry and stuff that you can actually do something like that. You can look good and really function well. So,
look at the story content. I'm going to sound cheesy here, but for the Clone Wars and those cartoons and they got good stories, and it was all graphics with voice actors.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason you couldn't do that in D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Really.
And there's one thing you could do that was different for the Drow. The Vikings, for instance, the TV series Vikings, is all yelling.
Mm-hmm.
They must all be deaf because they can't even walk up to each other without going, "Ah!" You know, not everything's delivered like that. The Drow, you could be quiet and intimate, and you could lower your voice and force people to lean into the screen to listen. And of course, people binge watching or people buying the DVDs, no problem. You set the volume over to whatever you want.
Yeah.
But boy, if you recaptured the speaking to the audience quietly, now you have to listen to me.
And spiders aren't particularly loud and yelling and shouting either. They are kind of a subtle monster when it comes to sound and stuff.
Particularly if somebody's talking to you and the spiders start coming out of their mouth and crawling down the bosom. Or crawling up the bosom as they're talking, and everybody's going, there's a spider on her, there's a spider on her, and it climbs right up into her mouth, and she goes on talking. She doesn't chew it, she takes it in as if it's a pet and goes on talking. And then everybody at home is going, what's this?
Yep. We can make arachnophobia the number one phobia in the next several years from having a TV series like that.
I'm glad Jay brought up Clone Wars, because I think Anna's idea would have to be animated.
Yeah, because of the color thing. Yeah, I agree 100%.
I think nowadays you can actually use it with the newest generation game engines, and it can look like a Hollywood blockbuster.
That's fine, so as long as it's not real.
You can make it CG, mainly CG, and it could look absolutely perfect. So now is the time for it. I never wanted to see that until now. I think it's the time for it. Yeah.
And I firmly believe that when you do depict your Drow, you need to go towards cool colors instead of warm colors.
Yeah.
That's an example of warm color Drow.
Yeah.
This is an example of cool colored Drow.
Yep.
You have to go towards the blues and the grays.
Yeah.
If you go towards the browns, it's just too much like Africans, and that's not what the Drow are. We don't want to make those.
Not only that, if you go blue, you can use purple as a highlight, as a lighting highlight, and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah. And also, if you use more CG based characters, you can kind of go away from human anatomy more, and you can make them not make up people, but you could actually make them, and you can use.
You can make them look like the creepy Drow from the original series.
Yeah, we saw what you could do with Gollum 20 years ago. Use state-of-the-art modern technology, and you can run a whole TV series with characters that way that you can capture, and face animations and all that.
And we used to do this trick when camping years and years ago as teenagers. We'd capture fireflies in a jar, and then you put them in the most beautiful lady's long hair. Now, of course, it's creepy if you don't want bugs crawling around in your hair. But what happens is they glow as they crawl around in the hair, and then one by one they find their way out and fly away. But the fireflies are glowing, and if you're doing that by campfire light at night, it's really gorgeous. You could do the same thing with spiders. You can have your Drow with spiders coming out of their hair, spiders going up their noses, out of their mouths.
Yeah,
really
we have a picture like that of the Drow priestess with the spiders all
Yeah.
around her waist area. And there was in the Drow the Underdark.
You can just do the thing where it's like, wow.
Right there it is, right there, that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a question for from Big Mac. This goes beyond FR. How often Drow would travel between Toril and Earth, and should they use spell jamming, ships, portals, or plane walking? And we'll say that's the last audience question of the night, and then we'll do shout outs. So what do you think? Is that something you've ever considered, Ed, or is it they're not?
That was okay. You know why the Forgotten Realms is called the Forgotten Realms? Because we all have legends of dragons and vampires and wyverns and cockatrices and stuff in our real world, but we don't meet them on the street when we're going out to the local burger joint. It's because there were lots and lots of gates / portals in the more recent editions of the game linking all the worlds. And the way to get to Bir Toril has been forgotten by us on Earth, because power groups decided to control the gates, so they would close them and they would guard them and they would kill people who knew about them. And over time, we've forgotten how to get to the Forgotten Realms. So there's already this huge gate network, and they are far more fun because it gives you a choke point. You don't have elven ships flying through the sky or drow ships flying through the sky and stealth fighter bombers being scrambled to shoot them down, or radar picking them off. You just have a gate, which could be between any two trees in your backyard, or that creepy little janitor's cupboard at the end of the corridor in that old school, where the janitor always used to go in and he'd lock the door behind him and you'd see the light go on. And whenever you saw into it, there were just mops and buckets and stuff. Yeah, but what if there's a light coming on at night one time and the door opens and drow are marching out, a whole army of them? You know, you use the gates. They could be anywhere.
And there's gates in Greyhawk. There's gates, Iron, all over. So
you can do a whole high-level campaign of power groups fighting to control the gates. Philippos A. Farmer did that in his World of Tears series. And Rogers Lasney loved it so much, he did the Amber books off of that. And I wrote about that in Dragon 37 from the City of Brass to Dead Orc Pass in one easy step. I didn't title it. I never made up the titles. The editors did. Dragon 37, my Gates article. It got me a job as an editor of Dragon because, as Kim Mohan said, that's the first GD submission we've ever received that had footnotes.
Awesome. And that goes way back. That's pre-Anti-Paladin Dragon, which I think is 39. So you're going way back there. That's fantastic.
I am older than dirt.
Look, we could keep our guests all night, and I don't want to take too advantage of their generosity for coming on here. And I know how the shout outs tend to drag on. So let's do some shout outs as to what everyone has going and what they want to promote. So we're going to do the clockwise deal. Eric, we're going to start you off with this. What's going on in the world? What do you got going?
Well, right now I am neck deep in the Moonshays, which was a creation with originally by Doug Niles, who was able to interlace it with the Forgotten Realms, working with Ed, bringing them two together. And it is a wonderful Celtic fantasy, Anglo-Celtic fantasy setting that Tony and I are working on together. It's part of the Adventures League. And we have a whole adventure coming up, a whole convention coming up the first weekend in February called Winter Fantasy, where you can play all the Moonshays you can possibly cram into one weekend. And there's a lot of introductory adventures there as well. We try to stay true to Doug's vision and to try to capture what he was doing with the Moonshays. So go back, we reread our Prydain and to get all of the folklore that he wanted to have into it. And I think we did a very good job. I'm very pleased with the results, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the players. And so you can do that through Baldman Games, baldmangames.com if you want to play online. The whole convention is virtual. And so they've got hundreds of tables going off over the weekend.
What's the date?
The first weekend in February, which is pull up calendar. February 3rd through the 7th.
2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. That was what I got to do all weekend, was to make sure all the all the ducks were in a row, and the DMs, so they could be sent out to the DMs. Make sure they all had their maps, make sure they all had their player handouts.
That's fantastic.
A lot of work. I'm very pleased with the work that the team has done on it. It's been an incredible experience, and we're hurtling towards the end. There's going to be 20 trilogies total. We're premiering the 17th. Moon 17 premieres that weekend. And it's all about the Eladrin go to war, because the Moonshays has the only Eladrin realm in the Forgotten Realms, the realm of Serafall. And so if you want to ever see a fairy nation go to war, this is the time to play it. And they're going to war against the Shadowfell, which is represented by the armies of the slain, who has emerged from the Shadowfell to turn the Moonshays into the Dark Shays.
That sounds awesome.
And if you've read the books, I'm sorry.
And if it's streamed, any of it going to be live streamed?
I don't know. Do you know, Tony?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I assume they're going to do some of the streaming, like Jenny tends to stream her stuff. Jenny Loveday.
It's up to the individual.
Okay.
If they decide to stream it. So.
But if you read the old Darkwalker on Moonshay novel and the follow-ups, there are a ton of Easter eggs in our adventure. So not determinative. If you haven't read the novels, it's not a big deal, but there's lots of stuff buried for you. And one giant hammer you're going to run into. So if you read the novels, you go, oh yeah, that. It's going to be fun.
Also, it sounds exciting, and you guys put a lot of work into it. It sounds like, and that's fantastic. To keep things moving forward. Please note that sometime in the future you'll see Eric playing in a game with the Barrier Geeks again. Swan, the priestess of Mayheen, is who never hits anyone. So
never. She tries, does not hit.
It'll be a blast. That too as well. So Eric, thank you so very much for what a. Thank you for for organizing this, coming up with this brainstorm genius idea.
Mm-hmm.
I know our two heads together almost makes one human male in our 50s head, but we try.
Well, now next time we can have Ed in, and we'll discuss fantasy plumbing of.
Yes. Oh yes. Yes.
I have a better idea.
I have another expert. We have another expert we need for fantasy plumber, because he knows how city sewage. That's his day job, and he's a game designer. So yeah.
There we go.
I got a better suggestion. I know it's a joke, but
Stephen Holt. Yeah.
I mean, this has been
Stephen Holt. Sorry. Yeah.
It's been a wonderful discussion tonight. So, Tony, what would you like to talk about? I know you got. It sounds like Watsy's asking you to write for him, which is wonderful. Absolutely.
Yes, it's pretty cool. So Candlekeep Mysteries, that's coming out March 16th, if I remember. So I'm super excited about that. So, but as Eric said, I'm also working with him on the Moonshays. I've actually had a meeting with him for at least an hour for every day for the last 3-4 days on stuff as we're going through things, which is Adventures League. I have another Adventures League adventure coming out Tuesday, I think, and it's for the Dream of the Red Wizard storyline. It's called Moment of Peace. So there's that. I've got a lot of different little things. I've got a couple NDA things. I have all that kind of good stuff. So I'm keeping busy, which is good. I like doing stuff, so it's fun.
Plus, I should be prying. You're a professional fisher person.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yes. Well, I mean, I do professional fishing. I don't know if I'd say. I did go to nationals the last 2 years, though, for walleye fishing with my aunt. So we were the only all-girl team. So
how'd you do?
The first year we did great and we took home money, and last year it was just tough fishing, and more than half the teams got no fish. So we finished kind of in the middle.
Wonderful.
And it's walleye fishing.
Okay. Awesome. So. I mean, can't be easy to do, and it sounds like a wonderful
dynamite.
Yeah, Crocodile Dundee style, right? Yeah.
Right?
So I'll put it. Think we could get you in a game with Eric in the future?
I bet you could. Yes.
Awesome.
Obviously, I like gaming.
All right.
So.
All right. I'm always going to ask all new guests.
Ask away.
Because we're going to definitely, Casey's the planner. He's got a Discord. We'll get you into that special Discord where everything's going on with the organizing with the Barrier Geeks and the Cannon Fodder. And we'll get you in with, with Anna and Eric and the rest of the crew and Jose and, everyone else that's involved. It's a real fun time. So fantastic. Awesome. And we'll definitely have you back on with some other discussions.
Well, thanks. Wonderful. This is super fun.
Thank you.
I'm fun just listening to everybody.
Yeah, so that's what Anna's like, you know what? I'm so glad I got to listen. And let me tell you something. We did the gentleman we had on, Daniel Boggs, when he talked about Dave Arneson's Blackmore. We all, myself, Mike, during Legends Lore, myself, Mike, and I just sat there the entire night and just listened to the guy talk because I know nothing about it. Stuff. So trust me, it happens a lot in discussion. All right, Ed, what is going on in your busy life? Come on. You gotta have some.
What can I talk about? Because so many stuff is NDA.
That's the
okay. Yeah. I heard Tony mention Dreams of the Red Wizard, so I didn't know we could even talk about that yet.
Well, I'm doing the Adventurers League stuff. I don't know if what you're doing is different.
Yeah, I'm doing something that I can't talk about yet.
Okay.
To support an Adventurers League campaign. Alex Cameron and I did Border Kingdoms last year. Yep. Baldman Games got to do the Moonshays. We got to do Border Kingdoms. I am now working on another product with Alan Patrick and Alex Cameron, which might be of interest to you. Just saying. But I can't say anything else about it. I can tell you that Volo is flying again, and he's going to other cities, and I'm working with a crew of friends up in Canada on something to do with Volo that I can't tell you about. I'm also doing something else with Volo that I can't tell you about in another city that you all know far better. And because I'm crazy and I can manage on 2 hours of sleep a night, I'm also doing a product for stepping outside D&D for a moment, Fate of the Norns, which is a role-playing game that takes place when Ragnarok has come upon the world of Fimbulwinter. Yeah. And the Vikings have, and this happened in real life, they've conquered Dublin. Mm-hmm. It's known as Athcliath. And a Viking king, well, he ruled Dublin outright for 7 years, and then there was a succession of kings that kept getting pushed sideways and conquering other territory. Anyway, so we have done Athcliath in a novel. I wrote a novel called The One-Eyed King, which will come out eventually. And at the moment, I'm doing what I could never, TSR would never allow me to do in Waterdeep. I am detailing Athcliath for a box set. Every single city block.
Oh my gosh.
Every shop. They all have backstories. They all have dirty secrets. Every character. So you will have a complete that era city. Dark Ages, Fimbulwinter City. With everything that's made, everything that's sold, how it all works. And you can just plunder it into any fantasy setting you have.
And I don't think that something like that's been done since City State of the Invincible Overlord was done for Judges Guild, and that was yeah.
But City State is basically a map with some key elements.
True. That's true.
This is going to be who lives in the rental apartments upstairs is up to the Dungeon Master or the Norn as they are in Fate of the Norns. But every shop is detailed. every block of the city.
In print, it's going to be like 500 pages.
And we're going to do follow-up products where we have little NPC cards, new people who've come to the city. So it's going to be something you can just plunder and use for your role-playing campaign, no matter where it's set. So if your player characters suddenly decide to go to Neverwinter and you go, geez, I didn't buy the product, or I don't know where I put it, or whatever, you just go, my Athcliath box, bank. Doesn't matter where they end up in Neverwinter. This is the inn they're going to. This is the tavern they're drinking at. Except you don't have to pick just one. If they say, no, we don't like this one, we're going across the street. Don't worry. I will have several thousand of them here.
Wow. ETA, a year, 6 months?
Oh, God, it's taking me. I'm doing one city block a week.
All right, so...
And the reason I was almost late for this is I was having my weekly phone call with the publisher as I reviewed the blocks, and he said, okay, that needs to be a sidebar. That needs to be a sidebar. Because we have to explain to people that parchment is not paper.
Okay.
You know, or we need to explain to people how this security force works. Or, oh, you better call that out as a new spell. Or, you know, so we have to do sidebars for things. So, like, for instance, you go into a shop, and the shop is selling you hot fowl. It's not a restaurant. It just sells you hot fowl that they're turning on spits. And what do? They put the yams underneath them, so the drippings from the hot fowl drop down onto the yams and season them for free. So you can buy hot yams, and you can buy turkey or goose or pheasant or ducks or chickens or something they have killed with a sling stone, like a dove or whatever, a pigeon. You can buy that to eat on the way home. You know, stuff like that. So everything will be detailed. And yes, we will detail where the night soil goes. Because the river Liffey and the river Poddle will rinse out some of the sewers, but for other people it's chamber pots. And you pay to have the night soil wagon take them away. Which is, by the way, a scene I snuck into Cormyr in one of my Realms novels years ago. They actually left it in. The night soil wagon, as the female character is handing over her copper piece and dumping her chamber pot for the night.
Oh,
but you see, I had a female editor, so she said, yeah, of course, and left it in.
You gotta love these tidbits. Oh my gosh. Love those tidbits.
If you have to leave town and the soldiers are looking for you, you take a deep breath and you bring your straw and you burrow into the night soil wagon because they're not searching it.
Oh. Shawshank style almost.
Yeah. You'll smell like a rose, but you'll be alive to smell like a rose.
Oh man. What? So Ed,
awesome.
I always go out on a limb here and always push it with guests, but so Gary Julian wanted to ask a question of you, and I said I'll just have Ed back, and that is we need a Wizards 3 discussion in the future.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay.
I presume you want me to show up with clothes on and everything?
Oh, yeah, we'll be.
Yes. So down the road, let's have a nice little Wizards 3 talk about all the fun things. Okay. All righty. So,
I'm always up for that.
All right. That would be.
I was up for writing more Wizards 3 columns too, but then Dragon went away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got the online one.
Well, yeah, that's true.
We also have
my spare time.
Yeah. We also have
If you have any,
we have some great stuff. We have the Earth Journal. We have a lot of Carlos doing publications, and we got some things are really moving now again, and it's a great time. And it's a real sad thing that the COVID probably helped the community a lot when it came to playing, because right at GaryCon last year is when everything really hit the fan, and we had to go 100% virtual GaryCon. That was a huge opportunity for us, and kind of moved in. I'll explain what's going on to everyone in my shout outs, but Ed, thank you. And I know you're not a Greyhawk guy, but I would love for you to guest play in a game at some point. I would love it if you'd love to. Okay.
Yeah. No problem.
Alrighty.
I have played in Greyhawk with Gary as my DM, so
that qualifies you for more than
and with Jim Ward as DM on a separate occasion.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I was lost in the Pomage in one of them.
Oh.
And I was in the depths of the free city of Greyhawk, asking if they had sewers. And Gary was saying, "No, Ed, you're not coming up with the sewer grating on your head like a shield." And I said, "Ah."
Oh man.
And you thought the fantasy plumbing panel was going to be boring.
Tony, it's okay. Put your leg up as high as you need it to go. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. You want to put 5 pillows up?
No.
Don't worry. I mean, this is kind of. Come on.
I didn't look.
This is wonderful Twitch broadcasting we have here.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm trying to elevate it.
Yes,
so
please. We want you as comfortable as possible. Absolutely.
So that should be a magic item.
Absolutely.
I call it the steel boot of doom.
Ah. And I presume you have several throwing knives sheathed down there.
Yeah.
Yes, just in case.
Nice.
For those drow when they jump out.
Casey, I got the wheels working now, so we'll figure out the right time and place to bring Ed into a game. I've had Eric Mona playing, Luke Gygax. I mean, maybe that would be a perfect time to get you in on a game with those gentlemen. That would be a wonderful time. So I'll work on that absolutely, and make sure it's all within our schedules as well. So
cool.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Anna, what's going on in your world there? And I know it's a lot like usual. You always got something hot going.
Yeah, I've been scanning all the documents from Len's Trove.
Len Archive.
Yep. Yeah. So there's 102 PDFs. I think it's over 300 pages all in all, or way more than 300, I think. There's some 30, 50, 60 pages. And anyone who knows Len, there are there are several towns that are detailed, and there's like every NPC with every stat on so to speak. So there's some of them, but there are some gems in there too. There are some awesome. There are the history of Earth, the Suluis, and then we have the brief history of the Sul migrations, and there are some one that it's wonderful. Just love that Gnolls, Ogres, and Trolls. Oh my, that's an article. I don't think it's been published. So I think that was something he wrote, and so there's a bunch of stuff in there that are, and some of it is probably not that interesting to a wider audience, but some of them are probably really interesting. Leomund's Life, an article that he wrote. I don't know if that is the same version that made it into Earth Journal. I'm not sure. So this is the one there, so to speak. And this, speaking about dragons, the sulfur dragon is in here too.
Nice.
So some really cool things.
And the spirit undead and the rock hound. So I don't know if these monsters actually became published or something, but they were. He made, and there's even the computer code to the program he used to put in all the NPC stuff that he printed out. So yeah, we can see if I can scan that in too. I have some of the maps, so I've set up a tripod and some lighting and stuff, and going to take pictures of some of the maps too, so I can get use on my DSLR here. So I can get there.
So Ed, Tony, and Eric. Eric knows because Ed shot him down one time. I don't like any Living Greyhawk stuff during the one show, which was really funny. But Ed would magically pop on, talk about whatever he wanted to, and then say bye, and then leave. 30 minutes every show. We had him on like 40 shows.
Oh yeah. And he
wonderful.
Came in, and
it was great.
It was awesome, and he wanted me to come out and take care of, because he knew that he was ill, so he wanted me to come out and go through, help me, so we could go through all the D&D stuff. So but sadly was that he passed away before I could go out there. So, but thankfully, Gary's partner, Len's partner Gary, husband Gary, it was so helpful. So I've made 2 journeys out there, and he kind of sifted through all the things there, so to speak. So there was a bunch of boxes, and so I had a whole bunch of boxes and stuff, and there's a lot of printouts and notes and whatnot. So I've gone through everything and scanned everything, and so they will be scanned and OCR'd PDFs of the whole materials.
There's there's a group, a Discord group in our Greyhawk. I'm going to link this up here. Our Greyhawk Virtual GrowCon Discord. It's Josh Pop Zarathon, Jason Jacobson, Poopik Dad, and Grape Ape. All right. They are the team that are doing the Len Lakofka archive.
Collecting all the
for the group.
Len
They have
stuff
weekly
because
meetings for that.
yeah,
So
and then because he emailed a lot of us, and we had Len and me. We had several meetings because I worked on a special map version for him, so to speak, so we did some of that too. So that's one of my upcoming project is to do Lendor Isles in the new generation of Greyhawk maps. So it will be Lendor Isles with 5 feet per pixel. and so it will be a huge deal, so that's the next project. I have one commercial commission coming up but it's still under NDA, so I can not talk about it, but that's later on. It's very, very early stages, so I don't even know what the name of the product is, but coming out, so that's coming up later. And then I have one other small commission that I'm working on as well for Gryffindor Games. And then I have the other thing that is taking 80% of my time right now. So thank you everyone for my patrons who helped me do this. So I'm actually now doing the first area of setting out for the new generation of Greyhawk maps, because the other ones are like 20-year-old technology. Now we need to throw that out and do modern day technology. And I've been I'm running a campaign in the Southern Shieldlands, so that's been my test area to map it out for my campaign. And I thought it will probably not be good enough, so I just do it for my campaign and then revise it and then come back and do it real. But it's actually turning out to be so good, so it will probably be holding up for the future next generation of Greyhawk maps. So right now I'm rendered there will be it will actually be 3 steps to do each area. First, you do the basic terrain and you render that. And then you go in and edit all the details, stitch together the bits and pieces. And then the third is when you put the texture and all that on it. And I've done over 1,000 square miles on the first one now, and it's going to look fantastic. And I've done taken one area that is probably about 50 by 50 miles and done it for my campaign. When I take it in all 3 steps, and it looks gorgeous. So it's going to be awesome. And one of the key things, and this is kind of tricky, but take 30 seconds to talk about it. One of the problems in 3D mapping is to get elevation enough, because most of the tools can't really go high enough, because they're like for the real world. So most mountains are not more than 2,000-3,000 meters, like 6,000-8,000 feet, maybe 10. But this is a fantasy world, so we want to have room to expand, so to speak. So I found one version of one tool, so I'm sticking to it. And so now I have 30 kilometers of vertical space just in case. So in case we want to have some really high mountains somewhere on the planet, we can actually go there. So that way we have we have we have 100,000 feet to play with, just in case. I wanted to make sure that I didn't run into any kind of problems where the Yachtils couldn't be this high, or I want some volcano somewhere that is really tall and stuff like that. So there is been a lot of technical setup, but now I'm actually rendering it and it's starting to look really, really cool. So that is starting to come out. So the Lendor Isles will probably be the full part of the Flannies that will get the full whole treatment, so to speak, of having it. So, and now I'm collecting we have basically all the details of Restenford and Cruton and several of the other towns on Lendor Isles. So because this one will be 5 feet per pixel, so we can go in and see where the buildings are. So, but I will leave that on a separate layer just to warn everybody that, or to reassure everybody that if you don't want cities and towns and stuff and roads where I want them, that means that they will be on a separate layer. So you can just download the thing and just delete them, or simply just paint them in where you want them, so to speak. That's one of the key things, is that all the raw data will be available from this, so people can make their own versions of the map. That's the whole idea.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. Make Greyhawk your own, and
that's
really
the idea. So it will be available for everybody. So it will be like a free resource to use too.
Thank you, Anna. I'll go as quickly as possible, okay, everyone? We've been on a long time. So next week, massive, starting off an unbelievable next 2 months. Wednesday night. I know this is going to be a boring topic as compared to tonight, right? But we're going to do Dwarves of Greyhawk. We did Elves last week during Elf Week. We're going to talk about the Dwarves, the Dwarven Kingdoms, Dwarven player characters, some Dwarven NPCs, history of Dwarves. So it'll be myself, Anna, and Greyhawk Mike, and it'll be Wednesday night. Normally, Legends of Lore 8:00. I start. It
still only counts as one.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Ed, I'm older than you think. Hopefully, okay. I start this Thursday.
Who do you think I am?
I start adventure number in my campaign, not session. Adventure number 900 in my campaign this Thursday. And it's called The Ancient Awakening. I'm going to tie, that'll be multi-week, some new creatures, and it's going to take place in the Principality of Ulick at Warmonger's Tower. And just to show you some knickknacks of how nice my crafting team is, here's a picture of the crafted Warmonger's Tower. There it is on my table. All right, yeah, that is, and there's, yes. So, and that's what we play on. I'm true tabletop miniatures, yes. I am a big kid. Yes, my wife says that every day.
Aren't we all?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that is Thursday, and then another special game we have is on Saturday. We have a Saturday night special, which is usually happen once a month. So that'll be adventure number 899. That'll be A Dying Icy Heart. I know I saw Mike Disney on. Mike Disney is playing from The Art of Mike Disney. Time Lord's wife is playing. She's our streamer. And Chuck Cumbo, the community director from Troller Games, is playing, along with Anna and a couple of my regulars. Saturday, 6 p.m. for that. So those two adventures are this week. And then next week's Gabbin is... someone gave me this idea. Someone was on the very old Gabbin, like number 28, number 8. And so next week, we're going to go back to my Adventures Wall of Fame, the 24, our 24 top adventures that have made our Wall of Fame that are published. Showcamp, Temple of Elemental Evil, Bone Hill. You know which ones we have. We're going to talk about our experiences in there and see and compare them to what your Wall of Fame would be, what you would rate. I know it's a step down from Ed and Tony and Eric, but you know we can't do these every week. You know what I'm saying? So
it'll be hard. Yeah.
Yes. Note that the fundraiser is only three weeks away. February 19th and 20th is Underdark Uprising, and we raised $2,500 last year for St. Jude. We have 9 streams. We have 8 Twitch channels participating, and it is. I'm really excited. Here's a schedule for Friday of that, starting at 8 a.m. Wily Hobbit, Praetors Rejects, Troller Games. Stephen Chenault himself is DMing that for us. Blue Box, and then on Saturday of that weekend, we go with Tim DMing first thing in the morning, 4 a.m. The crazy, ever mysterious Tim. Then Carlos Slicing, Wicked Studios, Nightheart, and I finish up. Eric Mona is scheduled to play in this game with his character Venarium Vord, and so that will be coming up. That weekend of the 19th and 20th of February. If you have the money to donate to St. Jude, it's such a wonderful cause. Please help us out. We're trying to double what we raised last year. I have sponsors: Troller Games, Reaper Miniatures, Infinite Dimensions, Stratagem have all given me hundreds of dollars of giveaway complimentary items for those who donate, so they're right in on this. Plus, Casey has 20 of his Bandit Kingdom books. We have a lot of giveaways for everyone. Please make it a really great fundraiser for us. Gary Con. Everyone knows we have our own channel for Gary Con. It's called Gary Con Greyhawk. There are 26 events that I've coordinated, 24-hour coverage, stream coverage for 4 days. Yes, and I'm busy too, right? So trying to get, so Anna and I got a whole bunch of content going in Greyhawk, but we have a ton. I'll do more details after the fundraiser's over for that, because that's a major. Let's get through the fundraiser first. Then we got a whole month till GaryCon comes. So yes. Gary Julian lost a point of strength in con and gained 1 of wisdom. He went up an age category during this one. So thank you. All right, let's do the giveaways, and then we'll call it an evening. We're going to raid into. Thank you all the RPGs. By the way, we smashed our goal, 3,650. That's the second goal I set for followers. It was 3,600 for the month. Thank you. We're going very, very well. Thank you all for such wonderful support. First giveaway, if you're on, please be on to win. All right, I'm going to close this out. Anyone last second? You can choose between the Reaper miniature $25 gift certificate or the Troller Games $25 gift certificate, and then the second one will get the other one. And here we go, closing it out here. And let's see who the first winner is. Hopefully I don't mess this up like half the time. 2000 Caesar. All right, 2000 Caesar. You get your choice, Reaper or the Troller Games, courtesy of our sponsors. I know he was on. Just someone check. I'm assuming he's in chat. He's always in chat. No, I got to check. 2000 Caesar. He's on. Yoo-hoo. Which one do you want? 2000. Do you want the Reaper miniatures or the Troller Games one? You just tell me. And the second winner is, here we go, of the second gift certificate is Morpheus. So Morpheus, you get whichever one that Troller Games does not pick. Okay. Reaper. Okay. Thank you, Caesar. Reaper and TLG. Cool. What a great night. Ed, Eric, Tony, Anna, thanks. Thank you for such a wonderful conversation tonight. And thank you for hanging in there. We went real long tonight. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you had some fun. And I want to have you all back for games and for some more discussions in the very near future. Without the community growing, we'll be sitting here talking to no one, just ourselves, right? So the community's really taking some steps forward. So I know everyone's appreciative of your time. So really
thank you. Thank all of you. It's been great.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna raid into another Greyhawk stream that's going on right now. Galger's Sorrow's Tale. Let me set that up and note this. You gotta give. I got so many for Eric's Dropbox connection. It's going to take me probably all of tomorrow morning while I'm doing my real job out of my home office and multitasking to get them all linked. Just be patient with me. I will get them all to you because I think I got at least 30, 35 of them, Eric. That's like the most I've ever gotten. So you're going to get a lot of people that are going to be getting that. So, all right, we'll see you all soon. And will Jay hit a wrong button? Probably.
That's all right.
See, Tony. They can still hear us, so you can keep talking here. Let me set the until the raid goes. So you don't want to say, shit or anything like that right now.
Ooh, get better, Tony.
Yeah, please. All right, hit the right button, Jay. Raid.
Supposed to start walking.
Start raid. All right, here we go. It's starting up.
Made for walking.
Pretty much.
Wow. 78 people going in. That's an awesome amount into a raid. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll see you Wednesday night for Legends of War. Have a good night. All right, raid set. Let me just get back to the raid channel here, and I'll turn this off.
I think I clicked the right button to raid.
The what? Huh?
Oh yeah, there I am. I'm over somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
That was a blast and a